It is 10:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The SEC baseball tournament in Hoover is on to the semifinals, and Tennessee and Vanderbilt will face off Saturday afternoon for a spot in the SEC championship game. The Vols won 7-5 and 12 over top-seeded Texas on Thursday. Slay, can we get a horns down?
Horns down! Go Vols!
And Vanderbilt eliminated Oklahoma with a 6-1 win. You can hear the Vol Network call of that semifinal matchup right here on The Zone. First pitch slated for noon. You think people heard him? NBA playoffs. The Thunder pulled away from the T-Wolves, winning 118-103 to take a 2-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals. The NBA MVP for this season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 38 points. Stanley Cup playoffs. The Florida Panthers dominated Game 2 over the Hurricanes, winning 5-0 in Carolina to take a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Happy Friday. You made it to the weekend. That's right. Horns all the way down. Big win for the Vols. We'll touch on that throughout the course of the morning, and some changes to the college football playoff that we discussed at length yesterday. But now it's officially official with the straight seeding model that the college football playoff has adopted. Looking forward to discussing that at length. We got a lot of college football on the show today, it seems, especially for May the 23rd, but that's fine. Coach Mack, as is the custom, at 11:20. Some Titans talk for you, too. Do I have things to give away for Friday Fire? Do I have anything in the nebulous prize bucket at all for 11:45 today?
You do, and you will find out later.
Okay, which means he doesn't know if anything's actually in there, or the people who are responsible for putting things in the prize bucket have not actually yet put them in the prize bucket. But apparently we have something, so we will tell you that later on in the show. Of course, you know the number, 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. The F&M Bank chat, gracious and merciful as always, demanding that Lucas pronounce again Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at your pleasure.
SGA.
That's pretty good by you. We're happy to have you. So the straight seeding model is officially official. The quotes coming out of the College Football Playoff Committee chair are to the effect of, well, we're not really knocking teams who win their conference championship, even though, as we discussed yesterday, if they went to a straight seeding model last year, the ACC champion would be left out, because where was Clemson ranked? 16.
16.
Yes.
And ended up getting in. But according to this model, even though it is straight seeding, conference champions still get automatic bids.
Mm-hmm.
So it does change if you were to apply it to last year, who would have played who, but Clemson still would have been in.
This from Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. After evaluating the first year of the 12-team playoff, the CFP Management Committee felt it was in the best interest of the game to make this adjustment. This change will continue to allow guaranteed access to the playoff by rewarding teams for winning their conference championship, but it will also allow us to construct a postseason bracket that recognizes the best performance on the field during the entire regular season. So, 2026 still up in the air. What that's exactly going to look like, who's to say? So we understand that this is temporary at the very least, and I think we both came to agreement yesterday. Jackson, I don't remember if we asked your opinion or not. Probably not.
No, of course not.
If I had to guess. I think I took one shot at you to start the show and then forgot about you entirely.
You didn't take a shot at me.
Who did I take a shot at?
Joseph.
Oh, well, I'm sure both of you caught strays at some point throughout the course of 3 hours. Anyway, I feel pretty good about the straight seeding model. I have no issues with it necessarily. I don't think it, for the purposes of local conversation, Tennessee is going to have a tough road to hoe anyway to try and get back into the college football playoff picture, given the circumstances they're up against. You described it yesterday as a mystery box type of season, which made it seem like more fun than a potentially 8-4 season might be coming off a college football playoff appearance, but that's fine. I don't want to take that away from you if that's the way that you want to view it. But at this point, I feel pretty good about the direction that they're heading, at least for the immediate, because in 2026, we're going to reset the board.
Yes, and we still don't know what that will look like because the SEC and Big Ten are pushing for 4 automatic qualifiers per conference, with the ACC and Big 12 getting 2 each. And the ACC and Big 12 aren't so keen on that. So those discussions don't look anywhere close to resolved. So no clue what the college football playoff looks like in 2026 and beyond, but we do know for 2025. And I'm sitting here wishing, as I look at this bracket from last year's playoff, if the new seeding format was applied to it, it looks so much better, so much more balanced across the board. And not just because Tennessee would have avoided Ohio State, although that would have been nice, to host SMU rather than go to Ohio State for the right to play Georgia, but Clemson, Notre Dame.
That would have been infinitely more favorable.
Oh, well, yes, no doubt about that. But Clemson would have played Notre Dame for the right to play Penn State. Boise State would have played Indiana for the right to play Oregon. And Arizona State would have played Ohio State for the right to play Texas. Arizona State took Texas to the brink last year in the playoff at a neutral site. So it's tough to imagine that they would have been able to upset Ohio State, that version of Ohio State, on the road in Columbus. But you would have had Ohio State and Oregon in 2 separate brackets. I mean, just everything about this format with the new seeding applied to 2024 is 10 times better than the bracket that we got with the crazy seeding format from last year.
So 5 highest-ranked conference champs still guaranteed a spot in the playoff, even if they are ranked outside the committee's final top 12, which is the thing that we kind of left up in the air, it felt like, a little bit yesterday. If the conference champ is ranked outside the top 12, it will be bumped up into the bottom seeds, which would allow for a situation like Clemson to go from 16th, but ended up being seeded 12th, right, in last year's college football playoff?
Correct. And
yes.
Clemson would be the 12 seed in this situation because they would have bumped, Bama wouldn't have made it no matter what because Clemson would have bumped them out, as would have Arizona State.
The top 4 conference champs still going to receive the $8 million, which they, of course, is always a nice financial bonus to have for the college football programs who, of course, make the college football playoff as the top 4 seeds, which goes to the teams that reach the quarterfinals, regardless of whether they advance to that round or not. So, seeding change for the season. I mean, did it feel kind of destined to go in this direction once we got last year's bracket where it was kind of wonky? And maybe, it's just my inability to read 2 graphics at the same time and try and work through the logistics of, okay, but this team is actually seated here, even though they're slated to play there. It was a bit of a it was unnecessarily confusing.
Yeah, a little bit. Like
it felt like I know you enjoyed working through all the college football conspiracy theories because you're a sicko that way. And there are people out there who enjoy that, but for me, it was a bit of a blender.
Even though Tennessee kind of caught the brunt of it, being a top 7 seed. Oh, so we're hosting. Oh, no, we're not, because Arizona State is behind us, and they are technically one of the 4 highest-ranked conference champions, so they have to be a top 4 seed, which bumps Tennessee out of that host spot, makes them an 8 seed, which puts them on the road, and it was just a whole thing. Actually, I think they technically had to be the 9 seed on the road to the technical 8 seed in Ohio State, even though that's where neither of those teams were actually ranked in the top 12. So it was fun to follow, and it was fun to be drawing on the whiteboard like a psycho, trying to figure out who's going where. And
you did not actually draw on a whiteboard.
Who is actually seated where? You should see my house.
I have. It's again, even though you've moved locations, it still gives very much frat Chad vibes.
Yeah. Well, fiance is two states away. I don't know what to tell you.
That's the first time I got him on his heels in a long time.
He's like that guy during election season that's drawing all over the maps on NBC. That was Lucas during
Meanwhile,
CFP
I just
time.
imagine Megan visiting his new house after seeing the old place and the way that it looked and looking around and him justifying, being like, but honey, look at these concert posters. They're just so damn cool.
We're just biding time until I can live with my lovely fiance finally. I got to live with people. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you live with Blue, who is as close to your fiance as I suppose you're going to get at this point in time. But, of course, the baseball, obviously, cool to see the Vols knock off Texas yesterday. Were you locked in on that the entire way through? I caught bits and pieces of it running around yesterday. We had some Titan stuff going on yesterday, too.
Yeah, great game. I love what the SEC has done, making the baseball tournament single elimination for the first time in 2025. It has just added a tension to these games. It has taken some of the weight off of these teams' pitching staffs to where you don't have to continue to churn through arms. If you go first game, you lose, and then you play another one, even though you're probably the odds of losing your first game and doing anything of note in the SEC tournament, very, very unlikely. So if you lose, you can just move on, look ahead to the postseason, and reset. If you win, you keep going. And so I am enjoying this version of the SEC baseball tournament. And Tennessee knocks off 1-seed Texas yesterday, 7-5. Vols were down 4. They rallied to come back. They continued to force Texas to leave runners stranded, just surviving before finally winning in 12. And it was a national championship series rematch between coaches of Tony Vitello and Jim Schlossnagle, who famously ditched Texas A&M for their arch rival Texas.
How can you get that right and not Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
Schlossnagle. And Tennessee moves on to play Vanderbilt tomorrow. So that is going to be fun. That one is going to be tense, like it was in that regular season series to end, or towards the end of the regular season.
And then not quite as much drama last night in the basketball or the hockey. OKC moves to 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals against Minnesota, 118-103, a game that, didn't feel even that terribly close. And then Florida just bashing Carolina's skulls in last night to the tune of 5-0 to also take a 2-0 lead in their series as they work their way through the Stanley Cup playoffs at this point in time. Coming up next, we are going to get into college football playoff contenders for 2025. It's something that we touched on a little bit yesterday, right? We talked about the idea of, all right, we had the field last year. Who's most likely to fall off? Where does Tennessee kind of have a place in that picture, understanding all the changes that program has undergone beyond just the Nico thing, even though the Nico thing is the most important thing to kind of discuss around the Tennessee Volunteers at this point in time. What we're going to do today is take a look at teams like the idea of who could be the next Indiana. I don't have any expectation that the Indiana Hoosiers are going to be back in the college football playoff, but the atmosphere and the environment is perfect to create another situation like that where you could swap Indiana and Tennessee and SMU out for a couple of new participants this year, depending on how this entire college football season goes. And there's some interesting numbers to get to on that front. Also, I think they said something about this morning, but we're going to have like a rotating cast of people with Ramon next week because Will's on vacation. And unfortunately for the morning show audience, you pulled me on a Tuesday. So it's going to be me and Ramon for 4 hours on Tuesday morning when next we're live and local. Although, if you are working on Memorial Day or you're driving around on Memorial Day, I'm also going to be doing Fox Sports Radio from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. locally, which is, what is that? That's Brady Quinn's show?
Ugh.
What, 5 to 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
You're going to be so grumpy.
Are you kidding me? I'm up anyway. That's way easier for me than, I don't know. We've kind of got the sweet spot, right? Like, don't tell our bosses that we enjoy our midday slot as much as we do, I feel like, just, for reasons that it may remove some leverage from our situation. But like kind of 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is kind of ideal for all circumstances, no matter what your workflow is. But, it's more inconvenient for you that I wanted to work on Memorial Day when Fox asked me to, because you have to drag your ass in here at 4:30 in the morning, and I will be here at 4:55.
I will be very grumpy.
All right, so some college football contenders for 2025. We'll take a look at the field, or the potential field, coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is a great resource. It's been a great resource for guys for a decade plus here in Middle Tennessee. There are 2 locations, both downtown Nashville and in Cool Springs. And if you are somebody who's been dealing with a lack of energy, you're tired, you're just dragging around, things aren't working like they used to, maybe you're thinking, well, that's just a part of getting older and the aging process. But no, it doesn't have to be that way. And the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you. Because guys, they don't do the guesswork. They have proven solutions, and they make it happen. Real science, real treatments, no gimmicks, no online quick fixes that just leave you frustrated. Because online pills are too expensive and generic. to just not work. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, their medical providers build a plan around you, your body, your goals, and what it takes to get you back to feeling like yourself again, whether it's testosterone, ED treatments, stuff most guys don't even know exists. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has you covered. So call them today or visit their website at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Your consultation, including blood work, is just $99, and they will find a plan that works for you and for your budgetary needs. The number, 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com today. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Which team that made the college football playoff last year has best equipped itself to make another run at these things? At the top of the list, Texas, Penn State. We understand Clemson is going to be in there. Georgia, there's no reason. What's Georgia's quarterback situation currently?
It's looking like it's going to be Gunnar Stockton.
Okay.
Who played in place of Carson Beck last year.
So there are reasons to believe that the top of the heap will remain the top of the heap, but everything, I don't know, I would argue, Oregon is probably going to be back in the mix, of course. I had completely forgotten until Austin Stanley texted us. This was probably a couple weeks ago when we were having a college football playoff adjacent conversation that Oregon won the Big Ten last year. It just completely escaped my mind.
Yeah, it was an incredible game against Penn State.
Yeah. So with all the different things that you have ahead of yourself, first let's talk about, before we move on to discuss teams that could, be this year's SMU or Indiana or even take the place of Tennessee. If Tennessee isn't able to, I don't know, Josh Heupel would have to work some witchcraft to get them back into the playoff this year. Just, from the outlook that you have currently with the roster turnover that you're dealing with the quarterback uncertainty. I don't know if there has been any update regarding quarterback competition. It's not like they have to make any kind of an announcement in the couple of days that I was gone. I don't know if you guys...
What, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Because Aguilar just got the campus,
he's just
right?
trying to get his feet under him.
Right. Which, is a part of the discussion for sure, because if you've got two players on your roster who are intimately more familiar with the scheme, but this guy's got infinitely more college football starting experience, then I'm not quite sure who benefits the most out of this. But from an offseason standpoint, when you look at the teams that made the college football playoff last year, who has best equipped themselves to make another run at this thing, like another meaningful run at this thing? Not the 12 or 11 seeds, even though the 12 seed is going to be, last year's 12 seed is going to have a lot of discussion around it for potentially being a national champion this year.
Yeah, it feels like Texas, Penn State, Clemson are in kind of their own category, and that's because we know their quarterback situations. Like, we know what they have. And I know we haven't seen Arch Manning play a full season, but there is this confidence around Arch Manning that he has his team bought in around him. We got the sample size of him starting multiple games midway through the season when Quinn Ewers got hurt. We saw them call his number for certain packages in the offense last year. All the tools, the traits, the name, everything. There's so much confidence and buzz around Arch Manning right now. The expectations are higher for Texas, despite losing 12 players to the NFL draft last year, than any other team in the country. Then I think you have to go Penn State. It's honestly a coin flip for me. If we're going to talk about 1A and 1B in who should be the preseason number one ranked team in college football this year, Texas or Penn State. Because we know more about Penn State's quarterback situation as far as a sample size goes with Drew Aller than we do about Texas. And Penn State went out and got the thing that has escaped them in the James Franklin era, and that is, we think, a star receiver. Remember Fran Brown, the Syracuse coach?
Yes.
Talking about $2 million. I'm not paying you $2 million to play receiver. Travis Hunter. Bring Travis Hunter back. I'll give him $2 million. Yes. He's talking about Trevor Pena, who was a standout receiver for Syracuse last year, an all-ACC player, and he goes to Penn State. Huge pickup for Penn State in the spring portal, and they are going to have very high expectations next year, again, despite losing multiple stars like Abdul Carter at the top of the draft. So those are kind of, I think that is one tier in and of itself. And then Clemson, a lot of people are high on as Dabo starts to kind of get into the portal game a little bit. Cade Klubnik, one of those guys in the discussion for one of the first quarterbacks taken in the 2026 draft. But I think, I get why they're not, but I think Georgia should also be in this discussion. Do you know what their win total is?
Projected?
Yeah, in Vegas.
I'm going to say 10.5.
9.5.
9.5.
Which
feels low.
Surprisingly low
What's
for
the
me.
schedule look like this year?
Now, Georgia, I know they go to Tennessee early. In fact, that's the Checker-Nealon game, which is an interesting move, by the way. We didn't really talk about that. In this era of Danny White and Josh Heupel, Tennessee typically has avoided doing Checker-Nealon or alternate uniforms for the biggest games on the schedule. You know what I mean? They kind of will let those games speak for themselves a little bit.
Against Marshall or something like that?
Not even Marshall. They'll roll out the dark mode uniform against Kentucky or South Carolina. Like a game that it'll give you some juice. It gets the fan base up, and it gives you a chance to use those uniforms or checker Neyland against a lesser opponent, and you feel more confident that you're going to win, and you don't have to have the discussion of, oh, checker Neyland's cursed. Because that was a thing that Butch Jones did a lot, where he would roll those out for the biggest games of the year when Tennessee was always outmatched.
And then make the fan base think that those uniforms are cursed. Or checker Neyland should never happen again.
When you really just lost those games because you kept doing it against teams that were far better than you.
Yes. The Georgia Bulldogs schedule really starts in earnest against Tennessee on the road. They've got Marshall and Austin Peay to start their season. But at Tennessee, home for Bama and Kentucky. At Auburn, home for Ole Miss and Florida. At Mississippi State, home for Texas, then Charlotte and Georgia Tech both at home to finish their regular season.
Georgia was so below standard in the run game last year.
On a variety of different fronts, just their offense in general.
That I just don't believe that'll happen again under Kirby Smart's watch. I just don't believe that they will continue to regress in that respect. They added Josh McCray, the running back transfer out of Illinois. They added Zechariah Branch, the USC transfer at receiver, who was a huge target for Tennessee. Gunnar Stockton has options in the passing game, and we are going to take what Gunnar Stockton did, thrown into the fire in the college football playoff last year, and was, solid. He didn't blow anybody away, but let's not forget, he led Georgia on a comeback in the second half to win the SEC championship. So I expect Georgia to absolutely be a contender this year. Maybe not to the level of Texas and Penn State in terms of the national expectation, but they should be in that category, as should Ohio State, with Julian Sayin, I think, as their QB1, as should, in terms of expectation locally, one team that we're not talking about nationally as a bona fide championship contender, but locally, LSU fans are looking at Brian Kelly, and they're like, dude, okay, it's time. Let's get it rolling here. You came here to win a national championship, nothing less. The last 3 head coaches at that program have won a national title, and Ed Orgeron was one of them. So when we go get the winningest coach in Notre Dame history,
Ed O just catching a stray across the bow there, even though it's fair.
You are expected to win a championship. So I don't know where LSU, Jackson pulled up the national championship odds last year, and we'll see where LSU falls. But I know locally that is one team that anything less than a national championship contending season will be a disappointment, even for many people, a failure for Brian Kelly.
Where would you guess, just to kind of swing things back around to the 2 teams that we started this discussion with, Penn State and Texas, where do you think Drew Aller's Heisman Trophy odds are? Just 1 through...
Top 3.
No.
Not even top 5?
No.
What is it?
Arch Manning is the Heisman preseason Heisman Trophy favorite. Well, you say yep, like just okay given, but I mean, how much weight is that name carrying?
No, I'm just saying it makes sense that he's the favorite. Yeah. Does it go Arch and then Klubnik?
It does. It's Arch, Klubnik, Nussmeier, then Julian Sayin.
Oh, okay.
From Ohio State, then Jeremiah Smith, also of Ohio State, and then Drew Aller at plus 1,600 if you're looking at FanDuel. Has the 6th best Heisman Trophy odds. I am somewhat surprised by that, even though like this weird Drew Aller hive thing that started towards the end of the college football regular season for Titans fans who were trying to, find another quarterback situation that, now they would tell you, no, I was always on Cam Ward. It's been Cam Ward the entire time. There's receipts out there on social media of many of you praying, hoping, and wishing that Drew Aller would declare for the NFL draft. But I am surprised to see him that low, given what Penn State is set up to do this year. That's not I guess it's just based off Drew Aller, but is that not kind of saying something about how Vegas feels about Penn State's football team and maybe even James Franklin?
Yeah, that's interesting. That a player like Julian Sayin, who the talent ceiling is high but has not shown anything, is projected higher in Vegas to be a Heisman contender. Where's DJ Lagway in that?
Give me one moment.
While you do that,
he's right after. Go ahead.
Let me remind folks that the Zone is bringing back the Split Happens Bowling Bash. And to make it even better, we took Buck's name off of it. There will be special guests and listeners Thursday, June 26th at King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. So hope you'll join us for a fun night of bowling, food, drinks, prizes, and more. And it benefits Home Street Home. The best part for you is admission is free. All you got to do is RSVP now at 1045thezone.com. Again, the Split Happens Bowling Bash, Thursday, June 26th at King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. Robert will get to show off his newfound bowling skills as he and Cheyenne have made
he's
it.
He's like a weekly, he's like a regular at the bowling alley wherever he lives.
I'll be very disappointed. Yeah, Hermitage. I'll be very disappointed if Robert does not show up and kind of tear it up. At King's Bowl.
I don't think I've ever actually bowled at one of those things. For as many of those as I've hosted, I feel like I'm just running around the entire time. So I'm kind of glad that it's a station event now, as opposed to having to set all that up. But it's going to be a great time, and we look forward to seeing everybody. You said June the 27th?
June 26th.
June 26th. Okay, very good. DJ Lagway's odds are right after Drew Aller at plus 1,700. Then you get into Dante Moore, Lenora Sellers, and Carson Beck at plus... Carson Beck and John Mateer both have plus 2,500 odds.
What about Lenora Sellers? Or did you say his name?
I did, plus 22.
Oh, okay. Okay, he's an interesting one. Lagway with Florida is a fascinating one because everybody's projecting this big leap, year 2 leap for Lagway in the offense.
Florida fans feel kind of chesty. I was talking to some, actually, ironically enough, in South Florida this week before I came back from vacation. And Florida fans are very, very in on the DJ Lagway experience, even though, it understandably had some hurdles that had to be worked through last year with, who's the guy that the Texans drafted? I'm blanking on him. Wore Tebow's number, shouldn't have.
From Graham Mertz.
Graham Mertz.
Wait, the Texans drafted Graham Mertz?
6th round.
I totally missed that.
Yeah.
What?
And the Colts drafted Riley Leonard. Me and Cosell
I knew that.
Me and Cosell did the AFC South draft recap pod yesterday. We spent a little more time on some Titans picks that we didn't get to in the live show. But I had to refresh my memory on the Texans drafting Graham Mertz in the 6th round and the Colts adding Riley Leonard. I was confused.
For some reason, I remember the Leonard pick. For some reason, Graham Mertz has been omitted from my memory.
Well, I thought for a second he might have been drafted over Shador, but he was a 6th round pick.
Oh, that would have been hilarious. Coming off an injury, too. My goodness.
Yeah,
well, the thing about
knee will take him over as Deion Sanders' kid.
The thing about Florida, once again, is the schedule. Because... on the long list of things that we have no long-term answer to in college sports, one of those things for the SEC is the schedule. 8 versus 9, it feels like 2 damn years of that debate, and it's still ongoing. Spring meetings, by the way, next week, down in Destin. So important conversations will be had about the future of the schedule. So what we're doing right now is basically a home and home from last year's schedule. So Florida has basically the exact same schedule as last year, which I remember us talking about as an absolute gauntlet murderer's row. It's just flipped, home versus away. So they have to go to LSU this coming year. They have to go to Miami to play Carson Beck and the Hurricanes. They host Texas. They go to Texas A&M. They go to Georgia. They go to Kentucky. Go to Ole Miss. I mean, the road slate alone, man. And then they host Florida State to close out the regular season, who figures to be improved. They basically have nowhere to go but up. So that is the issue with Florida in terms of taking a meaningful leap in terms of contention next year. As good as DJ Lagway can be, that schedule is going to be a nightmare to wade through in 2025.
SEC team most likely to knock Tennessee out of a return to the college football playoff this season is?
SEC team.
You mentioned LSU and the pressure that's on Brian
in
Kelly.
Over Tennessee?
Yes. I mean, just as we talk about teams who are the teams that are most likely to not be back in the college football playoff picture this year are Tennessee, Indiana, SMU, Boise State, right? Those are the 4 primary. I mean, we'll see what happens with Arizona State. They are a curious figure in this. Maybe you could have a conversation about Arizona State.
Yeah, they're in a wide open conference, and they're a program that, despite losing their star in Cam Scadaboo, is trending up. So
with a quarterback that's returning.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep it to those 4 that I mentioned. But if I gave you an SEC program, like you mentioned LSU and the pressure that's on Brian Kelly, and I don't know what the situation really feels like in South Carolina. They feel like they have more optimism around them. They should have been a hell of a lot better for as many. Did you notice how many South Carolina defensive players got drafted this year?
Yeah. No,
you're just looking around and figuring out, how are you not better?
And the best player on their defense was not one of them because he was a true freshman last year.
Yeah.
Dylan Stewart is going to be back next year.
And it's not like I'm assuming that South Carolina is going to, just because they have a quarterback who has promise, is going to be in the college football playoff conversation this year. Even as I look at their schedule, and their schedule is not impressive.
They were in the conversation last year.
Yeah.
It was South Carolina, Bama, and Ole Miss banging on the table saying why they should get in. South Carolina was a couple plays away from being a 10-win team in the SEC and probably getting in if one officiating call goes their way in that crazy loss against LSU early in the year.
Then I might be in on South Carolina. Just looking at their schedule, it's not that. I mean, relative to the rest of the SEC, it's not that threatening. I mean, you still have Ole Miss on there. What is the expectation for Texas A&M this year?
I think locally it's pretty high. I think locally they're expecting a leap. I think Mike Elko punched above his weight last year, and Marcel Reed, local guy out of NBA, I think will go in with just a full grasp on that starting quarterback job. But there's certainly more hype for South Carolina and Lenora Sellers leading the charge. Sellers is a guy that I think NFL draft analysts, as they start to take a peek ahead of 2026, are falling in love with.
Cosell already started watching him, he said, and he's enjoying the experience so far. The fact that we mentioned LSU and South Carolina before even talking about Alabama, though, and maybe that's on us because I know there will be expectations, but like
there will.
What am I to make of Kalen DeBoer, especially in year two? If he's even on like the fringe of the conversation with the college football playoff selection this year, does that not put him in legit danger at Alabama? I would, at least with the fan base. I don't know about the administration.
Yeah, at least with the fan base. Ty Simpson's play will probably dictate a lot of that. It's his job at this moment. That's what Ryan Grubb said after spring ball, that if Alabama had a game right now, Ty Simpson would be a starting quarterback. Again, local guy somewhat out of Westview High School in Martin, Tennessee. 5-star. We remember Tennessee chasing him and recruiting. So the pressure will be on for sure, but none more so than Brian Kelly and LSU. With Garrett Nussmeier coming back at quarterback. They kind of added to what was already the number one transfer portal class in the country. So LSU should be a slam dunk. If they are not a slam dunk team to make the college football playoff, folks in Baton Rouge are going to want Brian Kelly fired.
And they should, right? I mean, that's not unreasonable given what he was supposed to do, right? He is sold to LSU fans as a national championship caliber coach. He has coached in a national championship. He just doesn't have a ring. And Brian Kelly's excuse for a million years was the academic restrictions that would prevent him to be able to recruit at the highest level at Notre Dame and all the different things that are there. But now at LSU, while there's plenty of talent on those teams, he's not been able to get them over the hump at this point in time.
Yeah.
615-737. We'll get to, you have stat of the day? Here in just a
stat of the day from the baseball action yesterday.
A lot of college sports to start the show this morning. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in the meantime before we get to that stat of the day. How about John?
What's up, Buck? Just a quick question because I've been in Knoxville for the last week, so I didn't know if you guys covered it or not. I saw the rumor from on Facebook from some Titans fan group, which fan generally stands for idiot. But it said NFL execs were angry that the Titans didn't pick to the Giants because they wanted Cam Ward to go to a bigger market, and that's why they didn't give them any primetime games. Now, I don't believe that rumor, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on it.
You want my thoughts on a comment that you saw from a fan page on Facebook about a conspiracy theory as to why the Titans didn't get primetime games involving the Titans not trading Cam Ward to the Giants?
So wait, so the conspiracy theory is
that the NFL
why the
executives
Titans
were furious.
Just mad for the not taking the Giants trade
Send
offer?
him to New York so we can actually care about him as opposed to Tennessee. I have no comment on the situation. I would advise you the next time that you call, maybe don't preface the thing by saying some Titans fan page on Facebook, but I want to know your thoughts on it. And I will leave it at that. The SEC stat of the day, that's next.
We do these on Wednesdays and Fridays, and I hate when Jackson gets Wednesdays and Fridays with us on this radio show for that very reason. So, thank you, Jackson.
Good to be back, buddy.
Tennessee battles back from down 4-0 to win 7-5 in 12 innings against Texas. This game
I
was
still hear some dripping in the background.
Tense. This game was. I've never recoiled at the word dripping until the way you just said it there.
Moist.
Tennessee moves on to the SEC tournament semifinal to play.
It's a Friday. I'm not actually going to take you seriously. I mean, I guess that wouldn't be different than any other day. But
noon tomorrow. You can hear that game right here on the Zone, courtesy of the Vol Network. And the Vols win back-to-back games in SEC play for the first time since mid-April. So Tennessee is off the schneid in the most important part of the season. And the story yesterday was about Texas native out of, speaking of dripping Springs, Texas.
I didn't like the way you said that either.
Brandon Arvidsson, his breakout game, redshirt sophomore, comes in relief, pitching 5 1/3 innings, 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, and 1 walk. And he leads Tennessee on that comeback, keeping Texas at bay as his first, he threw first pitch strikes against 17 of the 21 at-bats that he faced, just setting the tone, and he helps Tennessee to that win. Jim Schlossnagle was very complimentary of his breaking balls after the game, and Tony Vitello gets the better of Schlossnagle once again, and we get a rematch of Tennessee-Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is the hottest team in the SEC at this point. They've won 6 straight conference games. Nobody else can say that at this point, with only a few teams left in the SEC field, the SEC tournament. Tennessee and Vanderbilt, again, first pitch at noon tomorrow. And like I said to open the show, I love this single elimination format in the SEC baseball tournament. It has made it so much more competitive, so much more tense in these games. And the tournament just less games, just less games to get in, less rain delays. And we can get in, play the SEC tournament, get out. Most teams are using the tournament as a way to get primed for the postseason anyway, but Tennessee trying to repeat as SEC tournament champs, and they'll have to get past Vandy to do it.
I mean, to your point about Vanderbilt, holding Oklahoma to 2 singles is just impressive. They look filthy right now. 17 strikeouts. I saw somebody covering the tournament yesterday describe it on Twitter as it just felt personal watching Vanderbilt dominate the way that they had. Every Oklahoma starter had at least 1 strikeout in the game. J.D. Thompson, 11 whiffs in 5 innings of his start. By the 9th inning, Vandy, I mean, it seemed like it was completely Commodores the entire way through. I assume Vanderbilt, because they are the hottest team in the SEC right now, is the team remaining in the field that you would fear the most as a Tennessee fan. Obviously, we're still waiting the result from this afternoon of Ole Miss and Arkansas, and then Texas A&M and LSU, to your point, as we work our way through the SEC baseball tournament. But Vandy's got to be the thing that, if you're a Vols fan, I mean, this is a good point to kind of test where Tennessee is right now after reeling through the final stretch of the SEC regular season, coming into the SEC tournament with some questions around them. They handle Alabama, they handle Texas. Maybe not handle Texas, but they get past Texas, right? And you feel better about where the baseball program is right now. Didn't you tweet the Undertaker thing where he returns from the dead?
Feels that way.
Talking about Tennessee baseball yesterday. But if you're a Vols fan, you're looking at Vandy as one. It's always fun to have that level of competitiveness. That was certainly the case a couple of weeks ago in the regular season. There will be bad blood, which is always fun in sports, especially with in-state rivals, when you have 2 high-level programs like Vandy and Tennessee. And I mean, I don't know. We had Vandy fans calling in here a bit chesty after they beat Tennessee in that series.
And they should have been.
No, absolutely. But just kind of saying, people are saying that Vandy is back, this, that, and the other, but their standard is championships.
Yep.
And, I don't think that Vandy fans, at least the ones, it's different when it's Tennessee. You want the opportunity to trash talk Tennessee if you're a Vanderbilt fan, any opportunity you get. I totally understand that.
Yeah. Speaking of Vandy, by the way, quick hat tip to Tony Kemp, who announced his retirement very recently. Former Vanderbilt Commodore, local as local gets. Franklin born, Centennial High School to Vanderbilt, was the leadoff hitter on that first College World Series team for Vandy back in 2011. World Series champion in 2017 with the Astros. Tony Kemp hanging it up after a long and very successful career, Vanderbilt legend. So, yeah, Ole Miss and Arkansas throw first pitch coming up at 3. The winner of that game, like you said, will take on either A&M or LSU. That game is at 6:30 to decide who will await either Tennessee or Vandy in the SEC championship game. In terms of hosting in the postseason, Vanderbilt is basically locked in for the regionals. Tennessee feels a lot better about it today than they did a couple of days ago. We said the Vols would have to make some noise in the SEC tournament, make a run to even have a remote chance at hosting in the postseason. Well, 15 runs against Bama and then knocking off the number 1 overall seed qualifies as a run in the SEC baseball tournament all the way down to the semifinal. If they beat Vanderbilt and get to the SEC championship game, then I think Tennessee should expect almost to host in the postseason. Right now, it's kind of teetering. They could. Maybe it's likely that they will. I don't know if I'm ready to say that, but maybe they would need some help for that to be the case. If you beat Vanderbilt and you avenge that series loss a couple weeks ago at home, then you're in the SEC championship with a chance to repeat on Sunday, and you're probably hosting in the postseason, and fortunes are turning for Tennessee baseball, who has found some more depth in the bullpen, and Brandon Arvidsson breaking out yesterday, whose bats have come alive in this SEC baseball tournament. And Tony Vitello has done a nice job kind of just sticking with this group. He's talked about it. This group has had to kind of work for that chemistry a lot more than last year's group did, where it all came together very naturally for Tennessee. Vols were hot early in the season. They had a very light non-conference slate that maybe masked some of their issues. And the inconsistencies throughout the course of the season were kind of maddening to a point. And Tony Vitello was tweaking, making changes to the lineup, to the rotation. Nothing seemed to work until now. It's the most important time of the year, and here's Tennessee in the SEC tournament semifinal.
And Brandon on YouTube points this out. You can call the show 615-737-1045. You can also interact in the comment section, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch if you want to live stream the show today. Brandon points out, are you familiar with D1 Baseball?
Yes.
The website, D1 Kendall Rogers done a great job for 100 years at D1 Baseball and the rest of the crew there. But they have their field of 64 projections right now, and they have Tennessee hosting as the 15th overall seed in a field of West Virginia, Miami, and Miami of Ohio. They also have Vanderbilt hosting as the 3rd overall seed with K-State, Louisville, and Rider. I'm not familiar with Rider.
Yeah, Vandy's a lock to host. Tennessee can become a lock by beating Vanderbilt tomorrow. Again, noon first pitch. You can hear it here on The Zone.
All right. Some good college baseball discussion. We'll pivot to the NFL, and we will talk about this from both conferences and then make it more specifically about the Titans. But what we're going to look at today is Vegas win totals in the NFL. We'll start with the NFC, then work our way through the AFC, and then, of course, focus in on Tennessee specifically. Coach Mack will join us as well. Jackson, do I know what I'm giving away yet at 11:45 for Friday Fire? Do you know what I'm giving away?
Yes, 2 tickets to Judas Priest as well as Alice Cooper at First Bank Amphitheater on September 21st.
Who opens for whom in that situation? I feel like Alice Cooper has to be the main event, but I don't know. Judas Priest got a big following.
Good question. I don't know.
How old is Alice Cooper?
How old do you think he is?
He has to be 73.
77.
Whoa.
Still doing it, man. That makes Angus Young seem like a spring chicken.
God. Well, if you want those tickets, 615. Well, not yet.
School's out. It's going to hit hard at the end of May.
He's been out of school for 60 years.
It's in September, too.
Yes, in September. Damn, right when school's coming back.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an oxymoron there. But either way, I'm sure it's still a good show. So we'll talk about the NFC win totals coming up next.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Conference commissioners voted yesterday to go to a straight seeding format for the college football playoff in 2025. 5 spots will still be reserved for conference champions. The rest of the spots will be seeded as ranked by the College Football Playoff Committee. The SEC baseball tournament in Hoover is on to the semifinals. Tennessee and Vanderbilt will face off Saturday afternoon for a spot in the SEC championship game, throwing first pitch at noon. You can hear it right here on The Zone, courtesy of the Vol Network, as the Vols knocked off 1 seed Texas 7-5 in 12 innings yesterday, and Vanderbilt eliminated Oklahoma, stifling the Sooners with a 6-1 win. 2 games coming up today to decide the other semifinal. Ole Miss and Arkansas throwing first pitch in the quarterfinal at 3. Texas A&M and LSU facing off at 6:30. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour is upon us on this Friday. It's lovely to have you. Thanks for sticking around if that's what you've been doing this morning. Coach Mack will be here. We've got Judas Priest and Alice Cooper tickets for you to win at the end of the hour. You need your Friday fire, the thing that made you feel good this week, or the thing that happened to you of a positive nature. At 11:45, we will take your phone calls for that, and you will have the opportunity to win those tickets. Not yet. At 11:45.
Not yet.
We've got Jackson. Robert will be back on Tuesday, I guess, is when we will all resume live and local programming. We hope you have a great long weekend. And if you're not having a long weekend, like I said, I'm going to be on Fox Sports Radio nationally on Monday from 5 to 8 a.m. on the, I think it's 2 Pros and a Cup of Joe is the name of the show. It's Brady Quinn and LeVar Arrington. But anyway, I'm doing that on Monday, so if you want some sports talk, I'll be here, and then the rest of the crew will be back in action on Tuesday. In the meantime, we're going to take a look at win totals in the NFL. Now that the schedule is out, those things are subject to some degree of change once you understand the distance that teams will have to travel, the primetime games that teams will get, or in the case of the Titans, not get. And we're going to take a look at the NFC now and then the AFC later and talk more specifically about the Titans. Lucas, if I made you guess, so you may already have it in front of you, which NFC team has the highest projected win total of the upcoming season, it would be?
NFC team, highest projected win total, let me say Eagles.
Yes, at 11.5, which is sky high for the defending Super Bowl champions. They are minus 425 to make the playoffs. They are minus 160 to win their division, and they are plus 650. It's them and the Chiefs at plus 650 for the chance to repeat as Super Bowl champions. You go through the list. You want to guess the second one?
In the NFC, let's see. It is not the Niners, I would guess.
No, but they are. The Niners are getting a lot more credit from Vegas than they should.
Vikings? Packers?
Both of those are below the Niners, ironically enough.
Okay. Not the Lions.
They're third. It's Washington.
Ah, yes. That makes sense.
Washington at over 9.5 in their division, coming off an NFC Championship game appearance. And the revelation that was Jaden Daniels last year. So let's just give you the entirety of the win totals, and then I'll tell you where Cynthia Freeland of NFL.com is projecting each team based on her data science and her modeling for, not modeling in the traditional sense, but in terms of computer science modeling on the projection for each team's wins. So in order, it's the Eagles at 11.5. You have the Commies at, excuse me, I misspoke. You were correct. Both the Lions and the Niners have a projected win total of 10.5 at this point in time. Then Washington is fourth with 9.5. You've also got the Rams sitting there as well. The Bucks, the Packers. The Bears are at 8.5, which is kind of crazy. Ben Johnson getting a lot. I mean, they retooled their offensive line. They drafted as if they're playing Madden this year in Chicago. But the Bears at 8.5 is curious given how much Caleb Williams struggled in his rookie year. Vikings also 8.5. Seattle 8.5. Arizona 8.5. Atlanta 7.5. Dallas 7.5 as well. You've got Carolina as a bottom feeder at 6.5. And then you've got to go all the way down to find the Giants and the Saints at 5.5 for their projected season win totals. So let's take a look at the teams that made the playoffs first in the NFC before we work our way through the bottom of the barrel here. Eagles at 11.5, over or under. The division, are the Giants a better football team than they were last year? They drafted Jackson Dart. They have Russell Wilson, who, I don't know, there's seemingly some discussion. I was talking to a friend of mine who works for the Giants yesterday. There's seemingly some discussion that Jackson Dart may just start outright.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Brian Daboll has come out publicly and said Russell Wilson is the starter. So that would be intriguing. Mm-hmm. Again, are they even into OTAs?
No. Well, they will be in phase 3 next week.
Right, like the Titans. So.
Yes. Because they don't have a new coach, so they're on the same timeline as the Titans.
Maybe that's the noise, but I can't imagine anything has happened on the field up there to suggest that.
No, other than what's going to save our jobs the most. Is it going to be Russ or is it going to be Dart? Because if you can show something with Dart, and it sounds like Shane and Daboll are a package deal. If one goes, then the other is going to go. If one stays, then the other is likely to stay, it would seem. And I don't know if that's kind of a football suicide pact type of situation or what, but if you had to imagine the two of them going down with the ship, it would probably be going down with the quarterback that they traded up in the first round of draft as opposed to washed Russell Wilson at this point in his career. But it's fair to expect that Russ gives them the best opportunity to win early, and then maybe if Russ falters the way that he did in Pittsburgh to the tune of 5 straight losses to end their regular season, maybe they make a change. Philadelphia and Washington are who I wish the season opener was. I wish it wasn't Dallas and Philadelphia, but that's fine. Philadelphia and Washington, 11.5 and 9.5. I would take over Washington, and I might be tempted to take under on Philly. I think 10 wins is thoroughly achievable for the Washington football team to get to 12 again, given the attrition both as a roster and as a coaching staff, because Vic Fangio is still there, but obviously they lose Kellen Moore. And the last time the Eagles lost their offensive coordinator, who I think, wasn't it Shane Steichen, the last offensive coordinator that got a head coaching job prior to
Kellen Moore?
There was a whole mess of that situation where I think it ended up being Brian Johnson, and then did Sirianni take back over the play calling, and it was just a bit of a shuffle. Like the Eagles benefited from putting together a really good football team, but also a very high-level coaching staff, high-level coordinators to help prop Sirianni up. So the last time it was this much in flux, Eagles faltered a little bit. And it's tough to repeat.
Look, Jaden Daniels will have to continue to ascend for that to be the case. We saw the step back taken by C.J. Stroud last year. A lot of that due to offensive line, receivers at the injury position. Understand that. But C.J. Stroud also generally just wasn't as good as he was his rookie year. In a season where everybody kind of penciled him in as this MVP candidate, and it feels like we've been wary to do that with Jaden Daniels. When you look at the last few Offensive Rookie of the Year winners that play quarterback, Justin Herbert continued in ascension. He took a big year 2 leap statistically and in wins, right? The Chargers, I think that was the year the Chargers went to the playoffs. Was it 21 that they went and they choked against the Jags?
It was the 21 postseason. I think the year was 22.
And that was year 2 of Justin Herbert. But throughout that regular season, he elevated. Kyler Murray.
Actually, 22 was the year, 23 was the postseason.
Kyler Murray won Offensive Rookie of the Year and elevated from there, both in wins and statistically. So Jaden Daniels is going to have to do that in order for the Commanders, obviously, to be a contender. I'm not totally familiar. He actually, ironically, he has Larry Tunsil as his left tackle now, correct? Mm-hmm. When C.J. Stroud had that last year. And Washington, I think, has made clear efforts to avoid repeating what the Houston Texans did with C.J. Stroud last year in terms of the offensive line. But I'm fascinated to see how teams adjust to Jaden Daniels, especially in the run game.
And there will be adjustments. There will absolutely be adjustments. It's going to be something that, whether you chalk it up to a sophomore slump, but it will be more difficult for him. I would argue that the sophomore season for a quarterback is more difficult than a rookie year. Mm-hmm. Because, teams will have scouted, teams will know the kind of players that they're getting, but they don't necessarily know what they look like in NFL systems with NFL-level personnel and all the different variances that can happen in a rookie year that may be more easily accounted for because these are high-level paid professionals. Defensive coordinators and defensive players get paid too. So I do think but I do think 10 wins is still attainable in that division specifically where you can feast on the Giants, for example. I think that you can, the Cowboys look like a team that should be easily handled, or at least easy for a team like Washington to handle. And they return their coaching staff in ways that Philadelphia does not. Cliff Kingsbury is probably going to be back in the mix for a head coaching job after the season, provided that things at least maintain the level, right? And that's a high as hell level to maintain. Detroit, they are minus 230 to make the playoffs. I think I would bet for them to miss the playoffs this year.
You would bet on the Lions missing the playoffs?
Yes.
Why?
This is the first time that Dan Campbell is going to have to go through the level of brain drain that comes when you, as a coach who is not a play caller necessarily, lose both of your play callers on both sides of the ball. It's still the toughest division in football to me. I think if you had to pick one of those quarterbacks with the most potential to fall off, it would be Jared Goff losing Ben Johnson. Right? Goff has earned all the praise and the career rehabilitation that he's gone through, and he's been a high-level player since he's been in Detroit, or at least the last couple of years in Detroit. But if people are looking, if Vegas is looking at Chicago as 8.5 over/under, the three of Minnesota's a fair one too to talk about. It's between Minnesota and Detroit as teams most likely who made the playoffs last year to miss the playoffs, honestly, even though Minnesota came away winning that division.
I am expecting a drop-off, and that's a very easy thing to say for a team that won, 15? Would they go 15-2 last year at the Lions?
Sounds right.
1 seed in the NFC. But missing the playoffs, that would surprise me. The personnel is still what stands out with Detroit. And Aiden Hutchinson, by the way, just got cleared. He's a full go to be back into the offseason program with the Lions.
Yeah, but even their personnel's taking a dip.
I'm with you on the Vikings because I don't know anything about J.J. McCarthy. No idea. That's a mystery box.
Kevin O'Connell is buying them a lot of favor that the guy that drafted J.J. McCarthy is going to know how to get the best version of J.J. McCarthy, better than he might have been if he landed, in Chicago or somewhere else.
But the dynamic of Ben Jones moving across the division to take over the Bears with Caleb Williams and seeing what kind of leap he can make in year 2 as the starting quarterback in Chicago is a fascinating one, playing the Lions twice a year.
Cynthia Freeland notes here that the Lions happen to have the toughest schedule in her model. They are not helped by the fact that the NFC North is a division in which all 4 teams are projected to be separated by the fewest number of wins. Go to Lambeau, host the Bears, head to Baltimore, Cincy, and Kansas City, and host the Bucs all before Week 8, does Detroit. It would, if they survive that, then there's going to be no disputing that that's a team that belongs in the postseason, right? If they come out of that looking pretty clean, looking like the Lions that we expect to. And then San Francisco at 10.5 is confusing to me. They've lost a lot of personnel. And for all the different things that Kyle Shanahan can provide, and Kyle Shanahan is a bit of an offensive kingmaker, right? Like Deebo Samuel in Washington. It's going to be interesting to see how Cliff Kingsbury can maximize Deebo Samuel in the way that Kyle Shanahan was able to during his time there. But I don't get the 10.5 for San Francisco. I certainly don't get them having the same number of or the same projected win total over under as the Rams. Yeah. Your microphone's not on.
It's important for that to do radio.
You know what else is important?
What?
For you to join 104.5 The Zone for the 2025 Golf Classic, presented by Ferguson, Monday, June 9th at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club, located right in the heart of Cool Springs. It's a gorgeous golf course, historic, breathtaking views of the beautiful Middle Tennessee countryside, and you can purchase your team today. There are 2 flights, 8 a.m. and 1 p.m., and spots are running out. So go to 1045thezone.com. We'll be there broadcasting live 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and it's always a good time, the Zone Golf Classic. Oh, by the way, Dan Lust texted me this morning, and he said, just said, Scotty Scheffler with the sweat emoji. Scotty's not doing so hot. I don't think he's going to, the PGA Championship hangover is real.
Dan is a degenerate gambler, clearly, at this point in time, where he's betting things just to make himself feel something.
He's rallying a little bit, but he's 7 strokes back of the top of the leaderboard right now at Colonial Country Club. So the Charles Schwab Challenge.
So we will do the AFC win totals and talk about the Titans in the noon hour. What we will talk about coming up next is, well, we won't talk about, we will talk with Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio. We will get back to your phone calls, too. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. That music makes you move your shoulders. At least it better. Always puts us in a good mood because it means Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is on the other side, presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford, where right now and for the foreseeable future, employee pricing for everyone. That means you pay what they pay on almost every new Ford on the lot. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Happy Friday, Mac.
Hey, Buck, same to you. Getting ready for a nice weekend, so look like the weather's beautiful out here.
Yeah, I think we're probably expecting a little bit of weather on Sunday, but I think most people are going to be able to take advantage today and tomorrow. It's beautiful outside here in Middle Tennessee. It's always a beautiful day in Middle Tennessee, despite what's going on, but it should be a great long weekend, and looking forward to talking some ball with Mac before we get into that long weekend. There's a variety of different things, Mac, that I wanted to ask you about. In particular, the cost-benefit analysis. Okay, hypothetical. I know Mac doesn't do hypotheticals, but I'm going to try and paint this one as best I can so it's not too hypothetical for you. The idea of drafting players at various positions, but also looking at a rookie quarterback, Mac, and saying, okay, there are still vets out there that can support this rookie quarterback. And this could be, relative to any NFL team with a rookie quarterback, not specifically to Cam Ward and the Titans. How do you kind of work through the cost-benefit analysis with your front office and with your coaching staff, Mac, when you've drafted wide receivers and pass rushers, but there are still players who have NFL experience out there on the open market that can help you, but you also want to make sure that you're not taking too many developmental opportunities from the young guys that you just added?
Yeah, it's a balance that you have to make, and you look at your squad, and you really look at where, of course, if you've got rookies, your draft picks. I mean, their development, you're working on immediately. But there's no team in the league really, and again, we're just talking generally in the league that is ever completely done as far as roster wise. He's just not. Now, where the Titans are, clearly because of the fact that they've got some salary cap space, they're going to be a very young team. I think what's the number? They got 91 right there that are up with the Titans right now. You've got nearly half of them that are 25 years older or less. But there are some spots that you could fill in with vets, and as you say, cost effectively that could help, but would not hinder the development of the players that you have. But it's not a blanket rule for everybody, because everybody's roster is a little bit, put together a little bit differently at different stages of its development. But you're never, ever, ever going to be static, if this makes sense, with what your roster is. Never going to be static. This, and especially now that the Titans, they're going to have for the first 3 weeks of the season, they're going to have the number one claiming spot once the waivers start being into effect, which they've already been. You've got to take advantage of that if there's somebody that can not only physically help you, but as you said at the start of this thing, could be able to fit in without ruining your financial structure that you're trying to keep in place, after spending a whole lot of money and then trying to get this thing reconfigured.
One of the things that they did spend money on a year ago, Mac, was Tony Pollard, and obviously he paid dividends. I know there was a lot of things that the Titans weren't able to do last year, but he was somebody who was more than worth his contract, and somebody who the coaching staff continues to cite as being a high-effort, high-level player, a high-quality player, both person and player. But they were looking for a larger division of labor that ultimately did not end up playing out last year. Tajay obviously had the concussion situation. Scary, of course, and you hope that that's something that does not continue to bother him, because we know that those things can have a more frequent recurrence once you've had an initial concussion. And to his credit, he was wearing the Guardian cap in games to at least help minimize his chances. But in the NFL, Mac, I mean, you have to have almost a division of labor there, unless you have Derrick Henry running around, which the Titans no longer do, and even Khalil Mullings and Julius Chestnut as different styles of backs to give their running game a change of pace. Brian Callahan talked about it with us on Tuesday, and I wonder what you kind of make of the construct of the Titans running game and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there as far as with Mullings and Chestnut. Mullings is a bigger back. I mean, I don't know if you've seen him yet in person. But he's a bigger back, And that to me is something that they were looking to find a little bit of a different flavor there, as you said. The vision of labor. I think that they were on the path for that, until Tajay got the concussions. I think Tony Pollard shouldered a bigger load than they thought that he would, and he did a good job with it. But you could tell that it was going to wear on him. So that's what you would like to do. I think that they made a very definite effort to get a bigger back, to be a different type of back when they got Mullins in this draft. And to me, if you could keep 3 or 4 of those guys healthy, then it helps everybody, especially with this in mind. I mean, in a 17-game season is a big difference. Even Derrick Henry, I mean, if you really go back and look at the division of labor that the Ravens did with Derrick Henry, I mean, he wasn't on the field all of the time. And so to me, I think it's a wise move. The whole key is that overarches and overrides all of that. When you're starting to talk about a running back position that you are going to use different people in, is they've got to all stay healthy. That's the whole key to that. I think they've got the requisite talent with this group now, with those 4 guys that you mentioned, but they need to stay healthy.
Coach Dave McGinnis here with us, talking some ball, talking shop with Coach Mack, as always presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Coach Mack, owners meetings this week in Minneapolis. Big news coming out of it that NFL players will be able to play flag football as it gets introduced into the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. 1 player per team, plus any player with an international designation, right? So Elikayo Manor, for example, could go represent Canada if he wanted to, and the Titans could send another player as well. Were you surprised that this was approved by NFL owners? What do you think flag football looks like in 2028 in terms of the star power from the NFL that will be willing to go and that NFL teams will actually send?
Now, I think there's a lot of facets to this, but I can see where, the allure of a gold medal on an international scale would be, first of all, it would be very attractive, to a professional athlete. I mean, just look at let's just really quick go back to when they put the dream team together in basketball. I mean, those dudes didn't go over there to, now basketball and football are an entirely different thing, except flag football is a lot different than normal football too. I mean, it really is. And so to me, it didn't surprise me at all. Because first of all, I mean, the National Football League is becoming an international, at least somewhat of an international game now, as far as all the games that you're playing, over in Europe, and the flag football itself, the professional flag football. If you guys have ever seen some of it, it's a different specialized game, but I can see the allure for professional athletes, especially we're talking about professional NFL players wanting to go represent it's unique to be able to represent your country and, possibly win a gold medal. Now, the thing that everybody will talk about is because anytime you put anybody athletically on the field of play, it's going to be the issue of injury is going to be something that comes up. But I think they have plenty of time to work through that. To me, when I was following this as it was being presented, it didn't surprise me at all, Lucas, that they agreed to this might be okay for everybody.
Well, it prompted all of us, Coach, into starting to do drafts and who would you send from your team and who would you want to see representing the U.S. in a flag football event at the Olympics. If there was any one player, Coach Mack, whether you coached them or coached against them or scouted them or anything from every era of the NFL, one player in NFL history that you could send that you'd love to go see play flag football in the Olympics, is there anybody that comes to mind?
Well, yeah. I mean, any of those, you got the quarterback up there in Baltimore right now that, if somebody's trying to grab his flag,
Jeez.
I mean, it might be an issue. And of course, you're talking about, now you're not looking for the bigger hammer guys on either side of the ball. You're looking for foot athletes, but the thing immediately that goes to everybody's mind is the quarterback, because that's like anything else. That'll be the engine that generates, however good these teams are everywhere else. And there's several of them in this league right now that I am sure that would be able to excel at that, with the caveat that it's a different game. It's a different game, but the requisite skills and also the athletic ability, it jumps into my mind right quick. Lamar Jackson would be really hard to handle, I think, in flag football.
Vegas might have Lamar by himself favored against the French flag football team, I would imagine. Just have the French in a total blender the entire time. Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio here with us on 104.5 The Zone. One more thing for you, Mac, and we appreciate your time as always. Callahan this week, among other things, talked about how they are trying to, and obviously I know you're at every practice, and there are limited amounts of practice that are open to media beyond Coach Mack and Jim Wyatt and the rest of the Titans crew. But the implementation of kind of their offseason program, the division of the teams, the 8 different teams that they've split them up into, they've got assistant coaches divided up equally onto these teams, everybody but Callahan and the coordinators. Sounds like they're competing in this point system, and just kind of understanding more what they are trying to accomplish, and just talking to some people the last couple of days, trying to get a better understanding of how it's scored and what their goals are and what they're looking for specifically, how the thing is quantified, essentially, how they're determining successes versus failures, and how all those things are meant to help build up this team. I'm sure this is something that coaches have to go through each and every year, where you're just trying to find new ways to bring a new football team together, understanding that you're going to have turnover each and every year and all new different pieces and parts, especially for a roster like the Titans, where I believe about 54% of it already is new on this 91-man roster.
Yeah, I think you've covered the base reason for doing it, and then plus, they will have those competitions. Most of it takes place, at the end of practice, because they've got a time limit as to the time that they can be together on the field. But it just adds a little bit. It adds a little bit of energy to it. And here's the thing that is important to know, especially at this time of year, especially now with free agency and the salary cap, and you're flipping 35% of your roster every year. It's extremely important, especially at this time of year, to bring guys together. Now, you've got 90 guys, and it's sooner or later you're going to be down to the 53 plus the 16-man, practice squad. But that still stays fluid throughout the year. But you want to establish, some sort of connection at this time of year, because that connection that you build now has got to start trying to carry you through the rest of the season. So that's what they're doing. I can say this without giving a lot away, because I am granted a lot of access. It adds a lot of energy, especially when they're at the end of practice. And of course, they've been in phase 2 right now. Which, look, there's no helmets, there's no pads. Both offense and defense are separate. I think it was a really kind of innovative thing to be able to do, because really right now in phase 2, even though you're out on the field for the same amount of time, you're not on the same field. You're not competing against each other through this phase 2 part of it. This part helps a little bit of bringing that team together at a place as to where now once you start competing against one another, then hopefully you have built a little bit of that, whatever you want to call it, a little that esprit de corps that you want to call it. Once you start competing against each other, and then you morph into training camp, and then you make your final cuts. So I think it was a good idea, but I could say this, it adds some juice to the end of practice.
All you're looking for at this time of year before you get into the real competition. Coach Mack always making us smarter, always presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Have a great long weekend, Mack. I hope you enjoy it and hope the weather holds up for you, brother.
Guys, for all three of you guys, too, enjoy your weekend. See you.
Thanks, Coach.
It is the main man, Coach Dave McGinnis, with us on 104.5 The Zone. Yeah, this competition, this point system, you may know who I want to make sure I get the pronunciation correctly. Anson Dorrance is?
No.
the North Carolina women's soccer coach, people like Anson Dorrance, Steve Kerr, who the Titans coaching staff has been studying, pulling from different places on coaching and leadership and motivation and how to team build and all these different things. Those are some of the names that were thrown out there.
Interesting.
When you start to pry into, okay, how did you structure this thing? How did you come up with it? Is it your idea, or are you configuring this thing in real time? Because it does sound like it's pretty unique. And there's team building exercises at every team at every level of competitive sports, whether it's high school, Cub, the NFL, or women's college basketball, right? You've got different methods, different methodologies, but there's enough resources out there on the kind of things that work for some and may not work for others that you can kind of trial and error your way through. Those are two of the names in particular, though, that got thrown out there when I started to act, because I missed the Tuesday press conference and I had a bunch of questions about what the hell is this gimmick, BS they're running out there. And then I had it pretty thoroughly explained to me on, no, this is, I mean, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does, but they are trying they've put a lot of thought into their offseason program, understanding the places that they failed last year as a coaching staff, not just as a football team, and trying to see if they can make this more of a team as opposed to Tony Pollard having individual success and Calvin Ridley having individual success and guys who know how to do their jobs correctly, but may not have come together, coalesce the way that I'm sure to some degree, you just kind of expect a football team to come together. But what happens when the bottom falls out and your quarterback's a disaster and that's supposed to be your leader of men and the person that you're looking to is to kind of drag this thing forward or elevate this thing and it all falls out, right?
Yeah, that stuff is the easiest to scoff at and label as gimmicky.
And
right?
I did.
But because it's not football, right? It's not football related. It's just some gimmick they're doing. But it is important. And clearly it was an issue for them last year. And that's how they're trying to address it. Like, that is the only way to address it, is to try to find creative ways to get guys to come together other than 11 on 11 when you're just with your position groups. So I understand what they're trying to do, and they need it to work for 2025.
It just sounds like the team, like the players on the roster didn't really know.
Yeah.
Like, not that they didn't get along or anything like that. And you've pointed out the difference between me criticizing the lack of leadership and calling it outright toxic, which I don't think either of us did at any point last year, but understanding, no, there's some critical human elements of this thing that we're missing.
Yes.
That would allow them to operate as a unit at a high level. Now, obviously, they weren't operating at a high level whether they were as a unit or not, but there are some things that might be able to, keep them from bottoming out as hard as they bottomed out last year, even if they are still a work in progress, which I think most reasonable people would acknowledge that they are a work in progress.
Anson Dorrance was the coach of the women's soccer program at UNC from 1979 to 2024. He also coached the men's program for over a decade in that span, where he was doing both.
Yeah.
And UNC is, the most prominent college soccer program, men/women, in the country by a large margin.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Mia Hamm, most of the legendary USA women's soccer players that you can name probably played for North Carolina and played for Anson Dorrance, who also was the coach of the women's national team for about a decade. So that's interesting that they're pulling from that.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's take Cameron quickly before. Well, actually, you can go ahead and start calling in for Friday Fire. Jackson, what can they win?
2 tickets to
Judas Priest and Alice Cooper.
Judas Priest and Alice Cooper at First Bank Amphitheater on September 21st.
Jesus Christ. So you can call us 615-737-1045. You can give us your Friday Fire, and you can have the opportunity to win those tickets. But before we start to load up the lines for those calls, let's take Cameron. Hey, Cameron.
Jesus Christ is right, guys. Y'all are going to be getting some weird phone calls for those tickets.
That's fine. Weird is usually better than what we're used to, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, welcome back, Buck. And Lucas, I've got a question for you, sir. I am a Kentucky resident, long-term Kentucky Wildcats fan, but I love the Tennessee Titans. That's the reason I listen to the show. As you're a resident Kentucky fan, you were naming the other day SEC coaches on the hot seat. And I want to know why in the hell Mark Stoops hasn't came. Because I wish that dude would get on 65 and keep driving until he fell off the side of the earth. So
if you could kind of give me your opinion on this, I would really, really appreciate it.
30 seconds or less.
Yeah, great point, Cameron. If Mark Stoops has another season like last year, then, 4-8 last year. He can be a victim of the standard that he has implemented at Kentucky, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like 4-8's not good enough anymore at Kentucky, and that's in large part because of Mark Stoops. 6-6 shouldn't be good enough anymore. So yeah, I'm with you, Cameron. It's a good call. If it happens like that, if they get around that 500 mark next year, the message is stale, and Kentucky fans want him out, and I don't begrudge them for it.
It's him to drive off the face of the earth.
Yeah, maybe.
I remember that being the vibe around Joker Phillips, but Mark Stoops has obviously had a considerably more success than Joker Phillips does. But to your point, can be a victim of his own success. All right, Friday Fire. That's next. 615-737-1045. Give us your Friday fire. Need a little feel good, a little positivity to send you into the long weekend, and you can win some tickets if you do just that. Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, show in September at its First Bank Amphitheater. Is that where it's at? All right, very good.
Cool venue.
I haven't been yet.
I saw Tenacious D there. It was awesome.
That's a hell of a show to see. So, Alice Cooper, Judas Priest, 615-737-1045. You give us your Friday fire. If it's a good one, we'll give you the tickets. Mine is Kenny Chesney, who I know has a complicated relationship with Tennessee fans, which you could probably articulate better than most.
He's from East Tennessee. You know, he has proclaimed the Vols. He produced that awesome documentary about Condridge Holloway. He's picked on game day as a Tennessee fan, but he's also a superstar country music celebrity that goes to various different SEC venues and will wear a Gators jersey or something, just appealing to the audience, which I don't terribly begrudge him for. But yes, Tennessee fans do have a complicated relationship due to that fact.
Jelly Roll tells me that every time they offer him an NFL jersey in every other city that he tours in, he won't take it.
Okay.
He won't take it.
All right. That's a knock against Kenny Chesney then.
But Kenny Chesney did pay homage to the Tennessee Vols last night in one of the coolest ways that I've ever seen. So you're familiar with the Sphere in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
So he's playing the Sphere, and the song I Go Back starts to play, and the visual accompaniment with the song I Go Back is the University of Tennessee on the Sphere as they're running out of the tunnel or as they're running through the Power T, right? So he basically takes the entire Vegas audience through the T as he's singing I Go Back. And like from a visual standpoint, again, it's making the rounds on social media. It looks badass. Like the Sphere
is insane.
The Sphere is insane. This is a unique utilization of the Sphere, but I thought it was very cool, and it was Kenny Chesney paying, at least trying to get some of the Vols' good graces back. And,
that is
right?
so cool.
Yeah, come on. Like, it's pretty cool. So you feel less.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay.
He's back in our good graces.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Very good. So that's my Friday fire.
I didn't know you were doing that because mine is also Vols related.
Right.
So if you hate the Vols, I'm sorry about this segment. But I did want to point this out. Bill Rowland is the play-by-play voice of George Mason basketball, who Rick Barnes was the coach of George Mason way back when, before he went on to Clemson and then to Texas and obviously Tennessee. And Bill Rowland tweeted this yesterday. He said, "I don't care if Rick Barnes ever wins another college basketball game. Dude came all the way to Central Virginia to speak at the funeral of his office assistant that he hasn't worked with in 37 years.
That's awesome.
He said, class act, great speaker. I'll never say a bad word about that man. So I know I'm the Vols homer saying this, but I didn't see anything about this. Nobody would have known about this if the play-by-play voice of George Mason did not put it out there. So Rick Barnes is my Friday fire.
Jackson?
Yes, mine is Ronald Acuna Jr. returning back tonight for the Atlanta Braves after tearing his ACL last May. His second ACL tear, one of the best players in baseball back in Atlanta.
Very cool. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's go with Bobby. And remember to stay on hold for the opportunity to win those tickets after you submit your selection. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, my Friday fire is this past Sunday. I was driving down Charlotte Pike here in Nashville. Ran over what I thought it was a piece of trash. Turned out to be a woman's wallet.
Ooh.
Couldn't find her anywhere around. Took her wallet back to her house and left it with her husband. She called me about an hour later. I got a $60 reward out of it on Monday.
Oh, that's lovely.
What he failed to mention is that the $60 reward he got is what he removed from the wallet before returning it to that.
Thank you for the
No,
call.
I'm kidding. That's very nice of you, Mike.
Bobby's like that. That's Bobby.
Oh, that was Bobby. Okay.
It's like that one guy that called in and lied to us about his Friday fire. You sure you didn't take that money out of the wallet? No. Well done by Bobby. All right. Mike is next. Hey, Mike.
Hey, my Friday fire is in about an hour. They will be holding the first ever Weenie 500, where the Oscar Mayer Wiener truck will be racing 6 of them around Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I hesitate to look this up on a work computer.
I did.
Just went full send into it. Thank you for the submission, Mike.
That's awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. I
I probably
that's
should have
happening.
spelled. Apparently, I spelled weenie incorrectly. On
Okay,
the way, but it still
wow.
gave me the search results.
This is hard.
Thank God.
This is hard.
Oh, no.
Do we give it to the person that did something very nice, that is trying to pay it forward, that went out of his way to return somebody's very important belongings in a wallet? Or do we give it to hot dogs driving around a racetrack?
Bobby did already receive a reward.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good point. Bobby got $60. That
Bobby
could go
got $60.
towards Alice Cooper tickets.
That's right. That's right.
I can't imagine they're that expensive.
Rude.
I mean, how much do you think?
Sideswiped Alice Cooper.
How much do you think just an average ticket to the Alice Cooper show
don't ask
is?
me the cost of things. What's
you're gonna be like,
what's a banana
$600?
cost?
It costs nothing.
What's a banana cost? $25? I'm in favor of the Weenie 500. The idea. So, have you ever been to the Indy 500?
No.
It's sick. I mean, not just the race itself, but just the venue is awesome. All the different things in the infield that you can do. There's concerts going on. Hell, there's a whole golf course in the infield at the Indianapolis 500. But this is to see the Wienermobiles.
That's awesome.
Running around the track. That thing seats about 100,000 people. I bet they get a pretty solid crowd for the Weenie 500.
I want to see one, bump the other one into the wall.
Drivers get out, start throwing hands.
Go full.
In hot dog costumes.
They have to be wearing hot dog costumes.
Go full. It's like when you go to a Sounds game and they run the Nashville Country Music Legends around. Yeah, they gotta have hot dog outfits. No, I just envision a Talladega Nights type of situation where Ricky Bobby and I can't remember, it's Cal something,
Cal Naughton Jr.
Cal Naughton Jr.
Shake and bake.
John C. Riley, right? They shake and bake. That's the maneuver on the track. Slingshot engage. I just imagine somebody out there slingshot engaging in the Weenie 500. So I'm in favor of Mike. I think we are in agreement.
Alice Cooper and Judas Priest tickets are going for as low as $42 at First Bank Amphitheater.
So
Bobby,
rude
I
of
feel
you.
like you shouldn't have told us that you got the $60. And I feel like that really kind of worked against you.
Don't encourage people to lie to us about their Friday fire. If that's the thing
how
that
are we
happened.
going to know?
Well, that one guy got one by us and won some tickets last time.
Tyler Dial on the FNM Bank chat says Weenie race greater than the Monaco Grand Prix, which is
Agreed.
also this weekend.
Agreed. All right. Congratulations to Mike. Bobby, we appreciate the submission. You can call us each Friday at 11:45 for the opportunity to win great prizes like Alice Cooper and Judas Priest tickets. So we hope that Mike enjoys the show. And, of course, we hope that you enjoy the Weenie 500. I think that's what you should aspire to do in your play-by-play upward mobility. You're doing soccer. It's very exciting, but the Weenie 500 feels like it would be the peak of your achievements.
The upper echelon.
Indeed.
Maybe
All right.
one day.
Coming up next, we did the NFC win totals. Let's take a look at the AFC and specifically the Titans, who have one of the lowest win totals. How can they exceed that low bar that Vegas is setting for them? We'll talk about it coming up next.
Calling all Nashville sports fans, it's Lucas here, telling you your next go-to spot to watch Nashville Soccer Club, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, whatever it might be. It's Fog Street Lawn Club. It is Nashville's premier soccer pub, your go-to spot to watch NSC games, home or away. There are watch parties there for right now, the only pro sports team in Nashville that's having any success. The boys in gold are red hot. It's also open early for Premier League action, even those 6 a.m. kickoffs as we come up on the last weekend of the Premier League season. But no matter the sport, Fog Street Lawn Club makes sure you're not going to miss a moment and you're never going to get bored. Check out the rooftop. It's the most picture-perfect view of downtown Nashville from a rooftop in the city. You can play British-style lawn bowling or cornhole for free on the rooftop with any purchase from their awesome British pub-style menu. You can also reserve your lane today at fogstreet.com. Great concert series coming up on that rooftop, so go check them out if you want to escape the hustle and bustle of Nashville, but still experience Music City. Tons of space, TVs everywhere, bars, great food, and a great time. I will see you at Fog Street Lawn Club. It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The SEC baseball tournament in Hoover is on to the semifinals, and Tennessee and Vanderbilt will face off Saturday afternoon for a spot in the SEC championship game. The Vols won 7-5 in 12 over top-seeded Texas yesterday. Vanderbilt smothered Oklahoma with a 6-1 win, and you can hear the Vol Network call of that semifinal matchup right here on The Zone. First pitch tomorrow is slated for noon. The other semifinal has yet to be set in the SEC tournament. Ole Miss and Arkansas will play at 3 p.m. Texas A&M and LSU will play their quarterfinal matchup at 6:30. NBA playoffs tonight. The Knicks look to even the series at home against the Pacers in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Stanley Cup playoffs. Dallas hosting Edmonton for Game 2 in the Western Conference Finals. The Stars have a 1-0 lead. And Nashville Soccer Club jumps back into MLS play tomorrow night on the road at Toronto FC, looking to extend a 7-match unbeaten run. Kickoff at 6:30. Pregame coverage on The Zone starts at 6. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've done NFL. We've done college baseball. Hell, we've done even a little bit of college football and weenie racing. Phrasing? That's right. Welcome back to the final hour of the show. Welcome in. If you're just now joining us, the Weenie 500 going on at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is not something that I had on the docket to discuss today, but the Indianapolis 500 will be run this weekend for motorsports fans. That is, have you been to a NASCAR race? Or is it just the Music City Grand Prix?
My dad took me to Talladega when I was a kid.
Oh, your dad told me about this, actually, because he was asking me about what sports I'm a fan of, and I literally just said, yeah, it's just Indiana basketball.
Yeah.
That's what it was. He was stunned that is just the only team that I care about in my life.
I had been to, growing up in Alabama, I went to Talladega. I went to the Indy race at Barber Motorsports in Birmingham, but only the one race in like 2006 is the only NASCAR race I've ever been to.
I'm dying to go to a NASCAR race, which may seem antithetical to most people who have listened to this show on a regular basis, but it seems like a hell of a time. And I've done the Indy 500, and it is sick. But we are not here to preview the Weenie 500 nor the Indianapolis 500. We are going to talk about the AFC and some win totals here. So, shocking to nobody, the Titans have the worst Super Bowl odds in 2025, tied with the New York Giants. The schedule release has not altered their projected win total. Their over-under is still set at 5.5. It's them, it's the Browns, and it's the Jets that have a projected over-under of 5.5 in 2025. This is something that we knew prior to this, but there might have been some reasoning as to, okay, does Cam Ward affect their win total? The answer to that is no, according to Vegas. Does the schedule affect their win total? The answer to that is no, according to Vegas. So it's the Jets, it is the Browns, and the Titans at 5.5. The top win total, projected win total in 2025, you want to guess, in the AFC?
The top projected win total in the AFC, not the Chiefs?
No.
I'm going to say just tell me. Ravens?
Bills, 12.5.
Okay.
You've got the Ravens at 11.5. Chiefs at 10.5. Chiefs looking a little more mortal as of late, and Vegas is adjusting as necessary. They still have some of the best odds to win the Super Bowl. The Eagles were plus 650. The Chiefs are plus 800, depending on which places that you look. Let's focus more here on the Titans. Some other interesting win totals, though, quickly. Patriots 7.5. Did you see that they're favored in 11 games this year?
That's crazy.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Vegas is basically giving Mike Vrabel 2.5 wins. And that in a division that seems like it's the Bills to lose, right? Nobody's scared of the Jets. Patriots and the Jets are probably pretty close to even footing at this point in time, even though the Jets have more top-end talented players. One would argue Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Quinnen Williams, all bigger stars, better football players than I would argue anybody on the Patriots roster right now. Miami is the most fraudulent team in the AFC. like relative to expectation, I don't think the Dolphins are anything.
Bill Barnwell did an article on ESPN on AFC team superlatives for 2025. For New England, his superlative is most likely to need name tags at training camp.
Yeah.
With all of the new parts and pieces.
But favored in 11 games is nuts.
That is nuts. That seems insane.
So Vegas has them at 7.5 in a division that's not easy, right? The Bills still reign supreme, but, the Dolphins theoretically could cause some problems there. They've got the same win total, though. The Patriots and the Dolphins have the same win total, 7.5, which I thought was interesting. Steelers, 8.5, even though they don't have a quarterback.
And the Titans win total has not budged since the draft, right?
No. Cam Ward getting drafted did not change it.
From 5.5.
The schedule reveal has not changed it either.
Bill Barnwell's superlative for the Titans. Quickly, before I read this, what would your superlative be for the Titans? Most likely to? All right, you think on that, I'll tell you Bill's.
Yeah.
Most likely to keep their quarterback upright more often is Bill Barnwell's superlative for the Tennessee Titans.
It's not a great superlative.
And it's not so much about how good the offensive line's expected to be, but how bad it's been.
Yeah.
And honestly, though, he doesn't really point the finger at the offensive line here. He points out that last year, the Titans scored only 2 touchdowns on 45 possessions in which they gave up a sack, a 4.4% clip. He says, unfortunately for Brian Callahan's team, starter Will Levis had a habit of taking sacks. His 12% sack rate was the worst in the NFL for a quarterback who started at least 10 games. Adjusting for era, it was the 12th worst sack rate for any passer who started at least 10 games in a season since 1950. Mason Rudolph had a 4.6% sack rate.
Huge difference.
I mean, literally slashed it in half and then some behind the same offensive line. He says the majority of the pressure issues have to be pinned on Levis. Enter number 1 pick Cam Ward, who was much better at avoiding takedowns at Miami. Last season, he had an above-average 4.3% sack rate. His sack rate when pressured was 14.5%, also better than the national average. And then he talks about the offensive line additions that they made and said getting replacement-level players out of the lineup and swapping in competent players while avoiding those negative plays should help keep them out of the hopeless situations on offense that they faced too often last season.
Do you know what the lowest sack rate in NFL history is? Or the player,
or
I guess?
The lowest sack, or the player? Would it be, I want to say Peyton, but I bet it's
Peyton.
Is it Peyton? Okay.
It's like 3.1.
Okay,
His career.
Because Peyton was great at avoiding sacks, but Peyton...
He would also turtle.
Right, because Peyton was elite at knowing when he lost that play. And would just crumple to the ground, get him at the next one. So that's why I was hesitant to say Peyton, but okay, it is Peyton Manning. I wonder what Bev thinks about that.
If Jackson was ready for it, we might find out.
Hope she's doing well.
Do you?
I wonder what she actually is.
But,
have we looked this up?
Bev Davenport, I have no idea. I think we did at some point many years ago when we first put that on the board.
Her LinkedIn says she is the, I don't know what she is, CEO and founder of Education Matters. That is her current role.
Okay. That sounds like some kind of a cult.
She has not been in the college game since her Tennessee tenure.
Since then. Since I love Peyton Manning. Slow it down for me, Bev.
Oh, poor Bev.
Thank you. So, sacks were a killer last year. Absolute disaster. Will Levis. How many of the problems, and, Brian Callahan's never going to answer this in a press conference, right? But it's very hard for me not to walk into the next press conference when they're talking about all the different things that they're trying to correct from last year and just be like, hey, not to be reductive, but how much of it just returns to even base level, like progresses to the mean if you just take the Levis variable out of the equation, right? But of course, that's not the way that you can approach things as a coach. You have to continue to emphasize your message across the board to the team, but it's a lot harder when the quarterback is the one committing the most or the worst of the cardinal sins, which is taking sacks, turning the ball over, poor decision-making, all of those things correlated. Of course, penalties for them also a killer, an absolute killer. And you thought that was something that I don't know. Vrabel, that tailed off towards the end of Mike Vrabel's career.
Yeah, last couple of years of Vrabel, the penalties were rough.
But it was in particular holding, right? It wasn't operational stuff. Like they would get crushed because the offense, Dennis Daly.
I don't know. Dylan Radin's false start issue was pretty prominent in the last year of the Vrabel era.
Right. So that's an individual player.
It got better though under Bill Callahan. In that specific category,
but the holding did not. The grabbiness of the Titans, and it's not just specific to offense; it's defense, it's special teams too. I would probably, if you made me pick over or under 5.5, man, I have to think that they if they cut their turnovers by a third, that they're a 6-win football team.
They are literally a few plays away from being a 6-win team last season.
And I am not in the business of giving them much grace at all. I think what they did last year was offensive. I think that all the different things that they tried to do to correct it fell on deaf ears. I think that was not a football team, just a collection of players that they threw together and tried to make things work. And I didn't think the coaching staff was very prepared at all to fix it. Now, I feel like they have very much emphasized, all right, what the hell did we miss last year, or what did we gloss over, or what did we assume or presume would happen just based off what our prior experiences collectively in the NFL have been. And I think that I know that they have taken very dedicated measures to fix a lot of this stuff. Whether it works, we'll see.
I don't think there was any bigger weight around their ankles last year, though, than quarterback play.
It's just the one.
The coaching staff, there was criticism there. Absolutely. This team lacked leadership. This team lacked cohesion last year. But that stuff all gets amplified and blown up when the quarterback play is as poor as it was last year. And I don't want to just keep relitigating that and piling on Will Levis.
No, but it's true.
But I think that's just where they were last year. And that has to be the biggest difference in 2025.
So, but it's interesting, though, because there's a world in which they are a bottom feeder coming out of the first half of their schedule, with that New England game as kind of the halfway point, right? Week 7 for them as you look at the Week 10 bye, because Cynthia Freeland's model has them over 5.5, but their projected win total is 5.8. So she doesn't even have them quite at 6. 615-737-1045 is the conversation. We can take your phone calls on this if you would like. We can continue to talk about the AFC win totals and where the Titans figure to find their way through. We'll also give you some Greg Cosell analysis on an ascending player in the Titans pass rush group. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Make sure you beat the shot clock when it comes to your financial goals, and call Trajan Wealth today to learn more about their strategic wealth management solutions. If you are somebody who has been impacted, like so many people have, with inflation, the election, new laws and interest rates that can affect the financial markets in the short term, you want to make sure that it doesn't change the way that you invest in response to the daily news. Instead, Trajan Wealth will help you review your strategy, make sure that it's right for your goals, your level of risk tolerance, and your time horizon. Trajan Wealth will help you decide what to do. And certainly when it comes to retirement planning, the simple truth is that it's more than just calculating your expenses. Trajan Wealth can help you design a strategy based on realistic options that align with your goals and your circumstances. So call Trajan Wealth today, and they'll get you back on the right track, or at least make you feel more confident about the direction that you are currently heading in. The number is easy, 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. It is officially the lunch hour for most people. Lucas is shoveling some pizza-smelling thing into his face at this particular point in time. This entire studio reeks.
Only you can be disgusted at pizza.
No, I'm not disgusted by pizza. I'm disgusted by what you have done to that pizza-looking thing, because it's not pizza.
You get like 2 bites at it.
Yeah, again, the entire studio reeks because you've brought these things into a small, it's not that small, but it's a confined area that I'm sure Blaine and Dawn are going to appreciate, because there's going to be grease stains all over their work area as you do whatever it is that you've just done to that. What is that, a calzone? What are you eating?
The hyperbole on this guy.
It's really just the burps. That's what it is.
He doesn't do that as much as I think he used to, like the violent nature of his burps, where it, again, I've made this joke before, but it sounds as if the creature from Alien is emerging from his chest. It is so violent, these burps.
In some cultures, that's a compliment to the chef. Did you know that? So Zach Lyons came in.
You just look at them loudly. How was your meal this evening? And you
oh, wow. I'm honored. Zach came
got
in.
Shrapnel on their face after they've asked you because your burps are so violent.
Yeah, he gifted me. It's not a calzone, but it is what you believe a calzone to be, right? Basically a pizza sandwich. It is like a Napolitan-style pizza that has been folded over into like a panini, and it's fantastic.
That's a calzone.
From an establishment that I will not name because they're not sponsors of the show, and they are not the great Hattie B's Hot Chicken.
The greatest hot chicken in the world. So you can download the app. You can get Hattie B's mobile delivered to you, or you can go to any one of their fine Middle Tennessee locations, or if you're in Dallas, Austin, Birmingham, Atlanta, Vegas, they got Hattie B's Hot Chicken there too.
They have swag too. I'm wearing the swag today.
You are. What does your shirt say?
Flock around and find out. Hattie B's Hot Chicken.
I'm probably due for some new Hattie B's.
They have some good swag too.
I know I wear the jersey a lot, but I genuinely like the jersey, especially when it gets hot outside.
You walk in. We were at the location, the Charlotte location, West Nashville, and there's just a wall of swag right when you walk in.
Yeah.
Should have worn the jersey today.
I wore my Hattie B's jersey because I forgot that Cam Ward's introductory press conference was the day that I was not dressed appropriately to be at an introductory press conference for a number 1 overall pick, and I walked in my Hattie B's jersey, and Jimmy Wyatt gave me his Hattie B's order.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll take a half bird. I'm hungry today.
That's literally what he said to me. Not half bird. I can't remember exactly. I believe it was tenders for the great Jim Wyatt. We will get back into the Titans discussion. We'll give you some co-sell analysis here in just a second. But we'll go back to the phones first, or we will go to the phones first. 615-737-1045. How about Darrington?
My good people, feel good back hearing you back on the airwaves again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody's ever told y'all, but when y'all are going at it, y'all sound like the odd couple.
Wait, like the TV show, or like the Fox Sports radio show?
Yeah, I was going to say.
The TV show, the TV show. Let's go to the original. I don't know what that Fox, the TV show. It just messes. When you think you want to hit just Lucas, after a while you're like, damn it, I missed some of that vitriol from Buck. And then when you listen to Buck, sometimes you need that little small tap of wisdom that Lucas is going to bring. So it just kind of, when you go one without the other, and then after a while, you kind of miss it. It just meshes well. So salute to you guys for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so y'all talking about this 5.5, 6. Overall, do the Titans still pick in the top 10 next year?
Yes.
That's basically what it boils down to. So then what does it matter if they win 6 games or not? Now it's about, do you put yourself in a position to, I don't necessarily say tank, but look out for what you're going to be picking as you're steady building? Or are we still trying to build more draft capital for the next year to come? And why aren't the Saints on that 5.5 with the Jets and Browns and stuff? And I go back to doing what I do, and that's listening and supporting you guys. Salute to y'all. Have a great weekend. Happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone. And thank you to all our soldiers out there protecting us, keeping us safe. Y'all have a blessed one.
Thank you, Darrington.
Lovely message by Darrington. More likely or less likely that they are picking in the top 10 in 2026?
Definitely more likely,
yes.
But the Titans can have a top 10 pick in the 2026 draft, and the offseason that precedes that draft can still feel positive. Like there's positive. Like, I'll use this again. We talked about it when you were gone. Bryce Young, the Carolina Panthers. There feels like there is positive momentum there.
They were a legitimately challenging football team to play.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Carolina-Philly game? last year, where they damn near got the Eagles.
Yeah, I think they took the Chiefs to overtime last
Later
year.
in the season, I don't remember specifically the Chiefs game, but I remember that Eagles game and looking at Carolina and being like, oh, where did this come from?
They had a
positive development.
Number 8 overall pick, right? I mean, it's amazing how context can change certain things. The Titans going into the J.C. Latham draft year had the number 7 pick, and the feeling wasn't great, right? I mean, I guess there was hope and positivity with a new coach and all the moves they made in free agency, but they were coming off a year where, man, the vibes were bad. Panthers, picking number 8, were coming off a year where the vibes improved greatly in the second half of the season. Like, the context is everything. Titans can have a top 10 pick next year, and there can still be momentum created by the football team in 2025.
Yeah, because to his point about what does it matter if they win 6 games? I mean, to double your win total, to show forward momentum, to show positive developments at the most important position, which is the quarterback, and to have a greater degree of confidence in the coaching staff that is tasked with overseeing this, as well as the people who are responsible for the roster construction, I would not dismiss that so readily. I think that because I've got, and it's few and far between. I would say the vast majority of interactions that I have with Titans fans of late are pretty reasonable, right? Like, okay, understand you're probably going to take your lumps to a certain extent, but you got the quarterback. As long as you can stabilize things around the quarterback, or he can elevate you beyond what you might otherwise have been able to achieve without him, for example, then you feel okay about the direction that those things are heading. There are some people who just want him to be Jaden Daniels and will be unsatisfied if he's not C.J. Stroud, or will be disappointed if he doesn't set statistical records the way that Herbert did in his rookie season, and all of these different things that, I think it's never felt more attainable for a rookie quarterback to do some of those things than it does right now. Maybe you disagree, but I still don't think that should completely alter the expectations for every rookie coming into the NFL, because for every Jaden Daniels, there's a Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And again, Caleb Williams had like a perfectly normal rookie season.
A perfectly normal rookie season on a bad football team, for sure, with a bad coaching staff.
Threw for 3,500 yards, showed flashes, like he just wasn't Jaden Daniels, So in a year where the rookie quarterback spotlight was splintered and shared all over the place, he didn't rise above the way that maybe he was expected to, but he also didn't have a Bryce Young sort of rookie season where it's like, oh, God, this dude... Oh, man, I don't know. Yeah, he's in trouble. So, and he had a dreadful offensive line situation that they have spent a lot of money on to improve. Yeah. Joe Thuney now is the highest paid guard in NFL history. Join us, 104.5 The Zone, for the 2025 Golf Classic presented by Ferguson, Monday, June 9th, Nashville Golf and Athletic Club. It's coming up. Just a reminder, teams are limited. 2 flights, 8 a.m. or 1 p.m. Go to 1045thezone.com to purchase tickets.
But I'm not, because people I see one commenter on YouTube throw out 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Yeah, we can't do that.
I mean, we can, but I don't want to. I think it's
it's not a useful exercise.
Fans, right. My point is, fans, you're welcome to do that. You can set whatever expectation you want. Nobody's here to tell you right, wrong, or indifferent. Now, if you ask us our opinion, we're probably going to be like, I'm probably going to look at you and say, yeah, I mean, obviously, if he has more interceptions than touchdowns, it's a problem to an extent, but I'm not so concerned with his box score production this year as I am seeing, now that I've had the opportunity to do the show with Cosell and with Callahan, and to see the kind of things that Callahan saw and identified on Cam Ward's tape that they are looking to, 1, refine, 2, improve, 3, some things like I tweeted out a clip today of a 23-yard touchdown pass that Callahan's breaking down of Cam Ward against Florida, where there are things that make you turn your attention in his direction, but also, as Callahan acknowledges in that clip, the touchdown throw that he has, the feel that he has, the maneuvering in the pocket that he has, you can't coach that. You can't take credit for that. Some of that's just natural talent, innate ability. Now, how much further you're able to refine and improve the skill upon the innate ability is a big metric that the coaching staff is going to be judged on this year. The same person who's throwing out statistical predictions says stats are their legacy, to be honest. I mean, Yeah, I guess there's some logic to that.
Wins are we're talking legacy, then wins, and the stats come with the wins and all these things. But
yeah, wins outweigh the stats.
Like,
championships, conference championship appearances.
Rookie of the Year is a stats award. It just is. Like, there have been offensive Rookie of the Years at the quarterback position that were on bad football teams.
Yes.
Right? Especially
Cam in his rookie year. We talked about the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, Kyler Murray. Like, they didn't win a lot of games.
Clarify Cam Newton.
The Chargers didn't win. They won, I think, 6 games in Justin Herbert's rookie year. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So, yeah, the stats will carry those accolades, but it's hard. The context matters so much more than a definitive number.
But I think, because I even think that is incorrect. Like, the stats are there to fortify who the player was, right? They are there to help inform it. It is not their legacy. I don't think that their legacies are defined specifically by statistical production. What's more important, Matt Stafford's passing statistics or the fact that he finally won a ring? It's the ring. The fact that Matt Stafford was going to be among the all-time passing leaders and probably will retire as the all-time passing leader, given what the league is at the time when Matt Stafford is exceeding at a high level or playing at a high level. But it makes infinitely more difference that the fact that he finally got a championship as opposed to just being a box score stuffer, the way that a lot of people accused him. I think the word compiler had been thrown out around Detroit Matt Stafford versus now champion Matt Stafford. So the stats can be helpful in making an argument, reinforcing what you already know, but what you know is the greatness of the individual player, the individual accomplishments, and the team accomplishments that they specifically helped you achieve. It's not that the stats are irrelevant. They're just less important than I think people are trying to make them. It's also, it's like Pro Bowls, though. Like, every time you talk about, I don't know, who's a good example of this?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones is a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, that's right. It's just an easy example because it was a recent one and it the career went sideways after this. But like 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle Taylor Lewan was that caliber of player while he was going to Pro Bowls, right? But then it very much does not inform what happened to Taylor for the rest of his career, which is that injury completely marred it, and that he through no fault of his own because of the botched ACL repair fell off a cliff as far as what he was able to do. And now he's to the point where he can't, he's not officially retired, but he can't play football anymore. So some things require more context than other. I think Pro Bowl selections and statistical accomplishments outside of being like the most in NFL history, like Derrick Henry's statistical accomplishments are more important than, I don't know. Cosell and I were talking about Joe Mixon the other day. Like, Joe Mixon is going to end up having a really nice NFL career by the end of it. But because Derek is like one of the greatest things, if not the greatest thing at that position you've ever seen, and he's done it sustainably, it outweighs the fact that Joe Mixon might end up being somewhere ballpark around him by the end of his career. So we mentioned Cosell, and we mentioned some analysis from Greg Cosell. We were talking yesterday. What we're doing right now on the podcast is yesterday's episode. We had more conversation around Femi Oladejo and Kevin Winston Jr. because we didn't make it to those guys on the live show. We also took a look at what the other 3 AFC South teams did in the draft and how that might support or not support what they're trying to accomplish in a division that doesn't seem wide open, but feels more wide open maybe than it has in the last couple of years, with the Texans showing some mortality in 2024. So we're going division by division as far as what those teams did in the offseason and more specifically the draft. And so Femi Oladejo came up, and I asked Cosell about his thoughts on Femi, the second-round pick out of UCLA, and this is what Greg Cosell had to say on yesterday's episode of The Install.
Yeah, I think he's an ascending player. That's what I felt when I watched his tape, because he did make that change from being a stacked backer in 2023 and through the first 2 or 3 games of 2024 at UCLA, and then moved predominantly, the high percentage of his snaps came as an edge player. This guy, you've probably seen him in person. He's chiseled. He looks like Tarzan. He's got power to his game. I think when you're an edge, it always starts with that. You have to be able to win with power. I think that he's still learning, but
don't upload your videos.
Oh, he tried to do it right off the YouTube.
To me, and again, not just because Tennessee drafted him, this is what I felt when I watched the tape, that he's a player that's just going to continue to get better and better and better. And I don't know where he stands in his development. Maybe he's not ready to play week one, to play 50 snaps. We don't know that right now. But I think he's going to be a really good edge player as time goes on.
It's so hard to just keep talking about Femi Oladejo.
Mm-hmm.
What was that ad for, Jackson?
Restream.
Which we do use on 104.5 The Zone TV.
What am I supposed to do with that now?
Talk Femi.
Okay.
Just sweep it. Sweep it.
Don't you have something you typically say when you make terrible mistakes like that?
Oopsie.
Uh-huh. So,
Cosell high on Femi.
yes, that's the primary takeaway. Now, what we also talked about is the role of, I'm blanking on the pass rusher that they signed from Seattle for one year.
Draymond Jones.
Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones is going to be a starter. That's the one thing that we definitively know about the Titans' edge situation, that Draymond Jones is a full-time starter for this football team.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of just got who they got.
Right?
At pass rusher. Like, linebacker, there's this huge battle with tons of candidates to start next to Cody Barton.
Next to Cody Barton, right?
Yeah, next to Cody Barton, who is entrenched. Pass rusher, it's not a thing where Femi Oladejo's got to earn his playing time. Like, yeah, I guess he does, but, like, they kind of just got who they got, and he's going to play.
So, I don't expect Femi Oladejo to be a full-time starter in 2025. And we may have had a version of this conversation before, but like, if I said to you that Arden Key played 49% of the Titans' defensive snaps on the edge this year and Femi played 51. So they went through it with a three-man rotation, but it's really not a three-man rotation. It's one guy as the entrenched starter and the other two who they're trying to figure out, all right, can I play Femi on third and short because he's better against the run versus Arden, who's definitely a little lighter in the ass and is a third down pass rush or a pass rush specialist. Can you find a way to create a facsimile of a more competent pass rush with a fairly even split between Arden and a rookie and Draymond Jones on the other side?
Yeah, Oladejo is the rookie not named Cam Ward that you simply have to rely on the most this season.
Yes, I would agree with that. I'm fascinated to see, because like Kevin Winston Jr., I think is the more if he's healthy, let's just assume he's fully healthy by training camp. If all things are equal and Kevin Winston Jr. is the most, or is fully healthy by training camp, then he is 1B to Cam Ward's 1A as far as Titans rookies who should be on the field almost right away.
I still think I'd put Oladejo above that. But yeah, Winston Jr. is going to play. Like, also, the Titans are trying to manufacture leadership in this team, right? And it was a big quality of a lot of the players they drafted. Kevin Winston Jr. was one of those guys that was a team captain at one point or another at Penn State, that James Franklin lauded the way he stuck around, his presence with the team even after the ACL that ended his season. So it makes sense for those guys to step into a role in their rookie year. It just makes sense to just sort of organically build up. Kind of, it's almost like take two of the Brian Callahan era in a way, where take one.
Were you giving him a mulligan because of Levis?
No. Not giving him a mulligan.
This is really Brian Callahan's rookie year.
No. We're not doing the year zero thing. No, but
all right, Butch.
This doesn't feel like a continuation of year one, right? Under Callahan. Like, everything is reset. You handed the keys to Levis, spent a bunch of money around him. Okay, here we go. Oh, my God, this was a disaster. Let's start over here. Let's draft a quarterback, number one overall. Let's draft a class that can come in and be leaders and fill that void that's already there and kind of there for the taking. And there obviously is a ton of roster carryover, but in terms of the culture and how they want to play at the most critical positions, it kind of feels like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this again and actually rebuild this, which matches up with how they're operating, from a front office perspective. A totally different way of doing things.
Titans' week one opponent led the league in sacks last year with 63, the Denver Broncos. You know what the Titans finished with? Sack totals.
Just tell me.
32. They were a bottom three team in terms of sacks. Now, They internally charted 20 missed sacks that they just straight up didn't finish or let the guy go. And Mac Jones all of a sudden looks mobile trying to evade the Titans pass rush in week 16 or 17 or whatever that was down in Jacksonville. That is something. So it's not just a matter of they weren't good at getting to the quarterback. They weren't nearly good enough getting to the quarterback. But, I mean, even if you just add 10 more sacks onto that total because they were able to finish better, that vaults them basically into that vaults them into the top half of the league between the Commanders and Arizona as far as sacks, which are not the most important individual metric of a pass rusher, as I've told you a million times over, but can be a determination of how good your front seven was as a unit in finishing and getting off the field, specifically on third down. So there's a couple of different things that they're going to have to improve there. The finish is one, the talent is the other. It may be easier to get these players to finish more than it would be to outright upgrade the talent beyond just leaning heavily on Femi and Draymond Jones. All right, last call for phone calls if you got them. And an incredible run in sports media is coming to what I think a far too early end. We'll tell you what's going on there here in just a second. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. End of the show. Nothing like a 2-day work week. Appreciate Robert and Lucas and Jackson to some extent holding it down until his most recent whoopsie. Shameful. But we had a good time. If you missed any of the show, there is a Best Of podcast. I don't know if we've talked about surely we've mentioned the Best Of podcast at some point in the past couple of months since we've been doing it, but they put it out for us on Saturday mornings, and it's got the best things that we did this week. Now, maybe some weeks we don't do anything very well, but whatever it is, the best things that made it out of the radio show end up in the Best Of podcast, which can be found Saturday mornings in the radio show's podcast feed. Just search the Buck Rising Show in your favorite podcast app, as well as what interviews did you post while I was gone on YouTube?
I don't know.
Jordan Reed of ESPN is one that I saw.
Yes, we posted Jordan Reed.
WWE superstar Sheamus will be available on YouTube tomorrow. Who else? Isn't Lust on?
I believe the Dan Lust Jackson, that'll be scheduled for tomorrow, I believe. Dan Lust.
No, that will be later today. Probably around 6 p.m.
There you go. Breaking down Zakai Ziegler's
completely
case.
Unhelpful this entire segment while he's eating his pizza sandwich.
Yeah, just eat your pizza, buddy.
Yeah, truly. Just sit in the corner and eat your pizza sandwich. All right, let's last call for phone calls if we got them. We do have them. How about Steve up next?
Yeah, just got a question on the Hoover series and everything. Are they going to continue holding this single elimination? You look, and there's very few people in the park. Best teams are not necessarily going to make it out of this, and I don't like it. But, that's just an old man's opinion.
That's all right, Steve. You're entitled to your opinion. I think Lucas and I are both in favor of the single elimination. I think it makes the stakes higher. I think, I guess that to your point about the best team, the best teams may not advance through that. I'm kind of okay with that. Maybe that doesn't benefit Tennessee. It sounds like it wouldn't benefit Vanderbilt, which may work directly in the favor of Tennessee. So maybe you're for that if you're a Vols fan. I don't know if Steve is a Vols fan or a Vandy fan.
Yeah, I mean, you have 14 seed Texas that's still alive. But
you mean Texas A&M?
A&M, excuse me. Texas, obviously the 1 seed that Tennessee beat yesterday. 4 seed Vanderbilt playing 8 seed Tennessee. And the 2, 3, 7, and 14 seeds are still alive, all battling it out to get to the semifinal in the bracket opposite Tennessee and Vandy.
So I assume, Steve, that they would not put in the single elimination just to go back to the way that things were previously done if there was not an interest in I don't know if that's a conference thing specifically to implement, but I would assume that is more likely to stay than it is for them to revert.
There's also 16 teams now.
Yeah.
It expanded. So a 16-team single elimination format is just so easy, right? Just so cut and dry. It's easy to seed. Boom, knockout rounds. It's the perfect number of teams to go through the tournament. So I like it, but, you and I are not baseball purists in that way. I just love the stakes that come.
But we're definitely college baseball fans. We're not Major League Baseball fans. I got a text from somebody with the Nashville Stars, by the way, that says we come up in meetings often as to people who would be supporting the Nashville Stars. Apparently, we are not in the would support the Nashville Stars category because we have many times accused them of being grifters.
Don't hang your hat here.
I just love the idea. Literally, like the idea of people like going around and taking Nashville Stars hats to different people. And we were on the list of people to get hats, and then it was discussed at
no hats for you.
That we hate them too much. Because I said, if you think I hate you, what do you think the Titans think?
I mean, look, if any team in any sport comes to Nashville, you are now my team. But I am just skeptical of the Stars' ability to exist. That's it. I'm just skeptical that they will exist.
I will say I got a text about some legit momentum on the side of baseball in Nashville here in the past couple of weeks on somebody who would know on the construction side of things. So that's not, nothing concrete, nothing definitive, no billionaire dropping from the sky to fund baseball in Nashville. But I do think it's got more juice than it might have had in the previous years, even though we continue to accuse them of being grifters.
Quickly, we need to tip the cap to the end of an incredible run. Around the Horn's last episode on ESPN is today.
Makes me very sad. PTI is my favorite ESPN. Well, NFL Live is my favorite ESPN show currently.
Mine's PTI.
they've done it really well. PTI has been my favorite across my lifetime.
That's the one that will. The last episode of PTI is just going to break my heart whenever that day comes.
I think they're both going to die before they hopefully not, but like before they would retire the two of them. I think they would prefer to die on camera at this point between Kornheiser and Wilbon. But it is the end of an era for Around the Horn. Around the Horn, an excellent show for a long, long time. So many great panelists, so many great people in sports who got opportunities on Around the Horn. What would we be as a society if Bob Ryan was not on our television screens, or Tim Kalishaw, or Tony Reale, or I mean, even some of the later panelists. Bomani Jones was so good on that show. Pablo Torre was so good on that show for a long, long time. Even more recently, they've incorporated some of our friends. Marcel Louis-Jacques, who covers the Dolphins for ESPN, has been a good panelist for them. Mina has given that show a, what, Marcel?
Yes.
That's like saying Tehran. Am I going to get fined for Tehran being my buddy? All right, that's fine.
Buck doesn't actually know these people. Woody Page, the great Woody Page.
Yeah,
I mean,
Woody
it's just
Page
going to be
a staple. They made him cry when they announced that it was going to be like the last month of Around the Horn. It went very, very fast. It's a shame what ESPN has done to that, because it sounds like before Shannon Sharpe had this sexual assault lawsuit that they were planning on just replacing Around the Horn with a Shannon Sharpe show, which, like, for what? I mean, respectfully, like, congratulations to Shannon on his career success. It sounds like him and Ocho Cinco are making way more money now than they were as players, which I am so for. And McAfee, like, I don't hate the game, but I hate what it is at the cost of. Like, Around the Horn should stay. And it sounds like they've just swept it under the rug as they move in a more, I don't know, it's not even infotainment anymore. It's just yelling.
23 years. It's a great run.
R.I.P. All right, some polls.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Who is the AFC playoff team from last season that you expect to miss the postseason this coming year? All the replies are one of two teams, Texans or Steelers.
Why the Texans?
Yeah, I mean, Texans drafted heavily at the wide receiver spot after losing Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell will continue to be out with an injury. AFC South's a weak division. Steelers, though, are like they're really testing this Mike Tomlin impervious to losing season thing.
Did you see he did a 3-hour, Rodgers did a 3-hour Joe Rogan episode and didn't mention anything about football once? Got Steelers fans in shambles.
It's just mean at this point.
I almost kind of love that, though, I'll be honest with you.
Who's the NFC team, playoff team from last year that you expect to miss it this year? John says Vikings. UW says Detroit. Karen says Rams.
I think I'm going, it's Detroit or Minnesota for me. One of those two has to take a fall here just because there's so much uncertainty around both of them, honestly.
Who should be college football's number one ranked team in the preseason? Nash Tiger says Ohio State. Kenneth says Texas, but acknowledges he is biased. It probably will be Texas.
I think it should be Texas.
Rex is leaning towards Clemson. I bet it'll be Texas.
I'd take Texas.
Who you got tomorrow? The semifinal of the SEC baseball tournament. Tennessee and Vandy. First pitch at noon. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone. 56% say Vols over Vandy to avenge that regular season loss. I expect it to be tense. I expect the emotions to be high between Tennessee and Vandy, and I can't wait for this game.
I bet Vandy wins. They're a buzzsaw right now. Tennessee coming on strong, a nice way to rebound and showing some fight there, but Vandy looks overwhelming.
That's not who you want to be playing, for sure. Those are the polls.
All right, very good. That's the show. Check out the best of. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll do a 615 Sessions podcast. I'm planning on around 2:30 this afternoon, so you can catch that on the A to Z Sports live stream network. We will be back on Tuesday as a full show. Fox Sports Radio on Monday. Have a great weekend.